It's that time of the week. Yet again, it's Creator Series WRC time. And this week, we are going fast and furious in Portugal with the WRC Plus cars, the 2017 to 2021 high downforce, high powered cars. Very modern stuff. I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it. And to enjoy every single minute with me is Alex in the commentary box. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, John. Back on WRC. It's first time since end of last season. Well, I believe you were racing actually. I commentate on your racing, but you've told me you don't want to talk about that much, so we won't go into it too much now. But we are here, of course, at the Rally de Portugal, and we have, well, I believe 11 stages to go through today. It's got a lot to go through, a lot of long tracks. Tracks. I'm going to get that wrong so many times. A lot of long stages to go, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Well, technically, to be fair, a lot of them are mountain passes and tracks, so you're quite wrong, quite right to say that, and wrong to call yourself out for it. That's the way I'd put it. Looking at the leaderboard, which I never like to see the guy in first place, really bad driver in first place. But moving on from that, we got to Mr. Kamikaze, who has made a brilliant run in Sweden and bagging, I think, maximum points from that rally. So moving his way all the way up the leaderboard, Vlembar in third place. So it's looking a bit like last season, really, the battle, and it's going to be fascinating to see with 5 rounds to go, including this one, who can bag the most points going into that second half of the season. But other drivers to mention, Ambient Mike making a really, really good return and recovery, with Contant Almo really yet to start his season off. One of the best drivers that I know, and just lacking consistency or confidence at the moment. IRC and also GJ, people to mention on this one, as well as GJ is Portuguese and is very, very familiar with this rally. So we'll be looking forward to see his performance on this one.
Home rally, always going to give him the advantage here. Indeed, it's going to be interesting to see how he does perform. And maybe, as you were saying, people can start kick-starting their season here this afternoon. I suppose it's very different tracks, different stages going from Sweden to Portugal, I can imagine.
Yeah, most definitely. Sweden, very open roads, very fast flowing. Obviously, snow rally, so that changes quite a bit. Portugal, very technical, fast in some places, it must be said. For example, towards the end of the famous FAF stage, it gets very open onto the sort of crest of the mountains, but you have also the mountain roads where you're driving up, as you can see, driving up the roads, and you have to just go between the banks, between the rocks, and so you've got to adapt your technique towards the type of vehicle you're driving. These vehicles, 4-wheel drive, lots of downforce, lots of aero, but also good mechanical grip as well, and good brakes because they're modern WRC cars, arguably the fastest WRC cars to date in the corners. But you've also got to adapt your driving style as well, because the braking zones change, the techniques will change. You'll be a lot more aggressive with the car at low speed, and so the fastest drivers will be able to make that switch instantaneously. But we may see some people struggle with that today.
It's certainly going to be interesting. The one that I'm very interested in is the man in the bottom right-hand corner now on your main screen. Is he's known for his quality in F1. Let's see if he can continue his quality here in WRC. Of course, driving the Volkswagen Polo 2017.
Oh, we've got B Daly as our co-driver. We've got no chance.
And
absolutely no chance.
Here he goes. Is he
co-driver?
co-driver?
Where are the buttons? There's the buttons.
Yeah, he is available as a co-driver, apparently, according to his car there. But anyway, he's on the stage right now. As you can see, on the left-hand corner, there's no longer a singular bar which would indicate shakedown, so he's now into the first stage of the evening, which I actually think is FAF. Yeah, there you go. You have it coming up there on the graphics. Straight into FAF, one of the most technical stages, and one of the newest stages in the game as well, as part of the last update, the last DLC. So he'll be wanting to get a good marker stage, from the get-go. I know Alex struggled a little bit when he first played this game, so hopefully gravel, he's a lot more sort of confident with it. But I know Alex from the Formula 1 games, I've raced against him. In the Formula 1 games, I didn't fare very well against him, let's put it that way. So I know he's got tremendous talent, and another person with talent, although he would almost ran out of talent just then, nearly jinxed him, but everything's fine. We have Ryan L83, a very, very well-known endurance driving racer on many, many different titles, and he's decided to take a punt at the WRC game as well. And as you can see, all of these circuit racers, they like to get up close and personal with the banks, which the rally drivers try to avoid.
Yeah, that is interesting. Obviously, as someone who does come from a lot of track driving, a lot of F1 indeed, this is definitely not my sort of game. Loose gravel, not very good at. But Ryan did very well there to keep his car in control, considering those two little taps with the edges of the walls. But he's looking pretty solid so far through this first stage, which I'm going to try and pronounce as Fafe. That's what I'm going with.
I've heard both of those pronunciations. I call it Faf because I've heard it on the WRC broadcast. Other people call it Fafe, so I have absolutely no idea. I call it the stage of all time in Portugal. It's the stage that everybody knows. It's the stage that everybody wants to spectate, and it has that wonderful end section. I'd say from that half of the stage onwards, you get out into really open terrain, and there's lots of big jumps where you can possibly go flat out if you're feeling confident, but we also have some very complex corners at the end of the stage with that famous dip into the Faf junction right before the stage finish, where everybody loves to spectate and where we've seen a lot of showboating in the past. So you can see that the rally is quite technical from Ryan's perspective. You've got quite a few tarmac areas and cobblestones and stuff to keep keep you on your toes. So you've just got to go for it and see what happens. One of the things that they'll have to pay attention is tyre wear. The tyres will get absolutely shredded on this rally, and regardless of what compound you're on, basically you have to think that the tyres will only last 1 to 2 stages, and so you've got to compromise a little bit, as I think they'll only have 3 compounds available for the entirety of the rally.
And considering, I believe, the length of the next stage as well, you're going to need that tyre wear. And as you said, 3 sets is a lot to do over 11 stages here in Portugal. But it's looking good for all of the drivers right now. A mix of cars between these 4, and it's going to be interesting to see which one pays off. If you were these 4 drivers right now, John, which car have you think they've chosen the best?
Well, let's give a quick rundown of the cars. You got the Polo 2017, which is the only car in this category so far that has not been raced at all. It was a prototype car developed. Oh, Ryan going for a huge crash there. He's hit the walls, as I said. He was very, very close. I think he hit the wall first on the apex, and then that bounced him to the outside. He's gotten away with it, though. I think he's recovered it quite well. No punctures, it seems. But it just shows how easy it is to get it wrong. The Polo, again, not raced because Volkswagen pulled out of the WRC with the Dieselgate scandal, the emission scandal. But a very good car with a lot of power, let's say, but lacking in front aero, so it's very understeery. The Citroën, a bit of a difficult car to drive, let's say, because it was a flawed design from the start, and because of the Joker sort of way of developing the cars in the WRC, you were limited on development, and so they couldn't improve the aerodynamics very fast. And so that car is quite unstable, let's say, but still a good contender, quite easy to drive, I'd say, just very difficult on the limit. And then you've got the Fiesta, which I'd call the ultimate downforce machine. Less power, but a lot of grip to go through the corners and quite oversteery. So it's probably the driver's favourite. It can be a bit temperamental in terms of, let's say, bottoming out and having problems with suspension a little bit. So as you can see, Ryan going into the famous junction there with on the road as well represented in the game. They have painted for a long time the Scottish flag representing Colin McRae, as he was famous for showboating during this stage, and also a tribute to Craig Breen as well with the Irish flag there on the ground. It's great to see that represented in the game, and two legends there, and we're making to look legends today as well as they hurtle through the stage.
Certainly so. It's a lovely looking stage. Just watching on board of Ryan, I am amazed by the concentration on some of these guys' faces, and especially the guys that do a lot of talking as well, like Mr. Gillen. I am staggered that they can talk and concentrate around this around this stage, because I could barely talk and concentrate on an F1 track, let alone a rally stage where you've got so many changes, so many corners to think about, and just so much to do. I don't know how you guys managed to pull it off.
Well, if you ask most of us, including me, we say we don't know how we do it or we can't do it, one or the other. It's one of those things where, you know, some stages where you're more confident, you'll get chatting and sort of settle into a rhythm. If you're not confident, you'll focus on what you're doing. And that's one of the most challenging things, I'd say, of the Creator Series. Putting those times down and also trying to, you know, interact with interviews and with chat. It's quite a complex thing. As you can see, Alex can, I think, just approaching the fast jump here. So you've got a very open right-hander. You can keep it flat through there if you're brave enough, and then flat over the jump, hopefully. Here we go. Yes. Always a bit to the left, all the way up against the bank, just tabbing it, but no damage right there. Very, very lucky to get away with that. But it just proves how little margin of error you've got on those landing zones, and something that is quite unique to off-road racing.
Yeah, it really is, and those jumps are terrifying to watch. I mean, that is, you've got to have a lot of trust in your car and a lot of trust in your own ability when you land that. But Alex did get through that very nicely indeed. And here we are with RCA JPH 99. You've got to read out those full names when they've only got letters. It's one of my favourite things. So as we go now over the jump again, is he going to be able to pull it off as well as Gillen did? A little bit over. No,
Lovely.
That's perfect. Right in the middle there. I thought he was going to go a bit to the left, but pulled it off spectacularly. And now the run up to the finish as a slight right, and then cross across the finish, and looks pretty solid as well. And now Punju, of course, one of the main people here in WRC, and very much you can see how much, well, say how little control he's got over his wheel there, but I suppose in the rally, well, that means he's got a lot of control.
Yeah, he's known for being quite an exuberant driver, always on the limit, and it's nice to see him back. He's been absent for a few weeks, so it's great to see him back on the broadcast. Oh, literally, you can see the lack of grip there, straight into the walls here once again, and yeah, the tires will probably be overheating at the end of a stage like this. It's very, very fast paced, and you can see he's been off a few times. Bit of bodywork damage, nothing too bad. In Formula 1 that would be a disaster, and rallying that's just a normal stage.
Yeah, that's just a normal incident to happen. And of course we've got on board with Kamikaze here, who you were mentioning on the standing space, looking quite good indeed in the Ford Fiesta. As you can see, the Scottish flag on that right hand side there is, I believe, we're still on stage 1 for some of these drivers. I don't think we've moved on to the next stage.
Yeah.
So it's looking good through the first part of the stage, and about halfway through it now. Of course, this is 11.3 kilometers. It's a long old stage, but the next one is even longer. So they've got to, as you mentioned, keep their tyres in check and make sure they don't pick up any major damage before going into the next stage.
Yeah, indeed. That will be one of the main dangers, is picking up a puncture or picking up damage. Most of them will be carrying a spare, just so that they can replace the tyre, maybe if they get a puncture toward the end of the stage. But yeah, on board with two of our, most exuberant interviewees, let us call them. They love having a chat. They're so upbeat all the time. Ancephalosis and Jam ONG. They have a wonderful time on every single broadcast, and we're catching them both into the FAF junction there with all of the spectators on the side, and that's not the right view from Ancephalosis. 90 degrees away from where it should be, getting very, very lucky he didn't roll onto his roof, and you can see just the concentration for half a second. It's all panic stations, and as soon as the car gets back on its wheels, it's as if nothing happened. And Jam is off as well at the exact same place, I think. So that junction catching out a lot of people. There's so much to do, so many sort of inputs that you have to do, cornering, doing the handbrake, and making sure you've got the right steering lock. Can easily get out of control there.
Yeah, but he did very well to recover it. We don't know exactly what happened, but it looked like they exactly did the same thing. So I imagine Jam did exactly the same thing. But they're both now running towards the end of stage 1 as we go towards the jump. Let's compare their jumps, see if they can pull it off as well as we saw previously. So going over the jump now on the right hand side of your screen, and it looked good once again, just a little bit over to the left, but definitely controlled it very well. And now on board with Yam, as you can see, he's very looking forward to going over this jump, and he did it, I'd say, very well.
Yeah, that was a exemplary jump from Jam. Maybe a little bit less speed carried into it, but that's the main thing is surviving stage one. Kamikaze has had a little bit of an off, actually, quite an embarrassing one if it was in real life, because he's actually crashed into the signpost on the Faf junction. So if that were in real life, there'd be about, I don't know, 5,000 spectators on that one junction. Just looking at you and probably taking a bazillion pictures of your crashing into that signpost. So thankfully, on the Creator Series, you can get away with that one. And seeing as we didn't see it on broadcast, it didn't happen. It's just mere speculation by me. Oh, he's taking a lot of risks, though. Did he see that jump again too far to the left into the barrier and recovering it quite well? But, Kamikaze is wanting to win this one, it looks like.
Yeah, it certainly is, not leaving any margin for error, really. Very much over to that left, as you said, any more, and they would have been in the audience on that left-hand side. But they landed it very well, and they kept it going in a straight line. So looked good at the end of that stage. And I believe our drivers have started stage number 2.
Indeed they have. I'm just trying to get some leaderboard standings for the first stage, although RaceNet not complying with me as of yet. I've got Panju into the next stage, and it's starting off quite long because we've got Friedel, and that's not exactly how you want to start. First sector, collision with a rock. That is going to sting, because that is probably going to be quite major damage there to the front of the C3. It makes that car even more understeery, so he's going to have quite a few problems. You can see how bumpy it is, even from their perspectives here. They'll feel it a lot more as the driver, but even from a spectator's point of view, the cars are just bobbing up and down on the bumps, and just, the grip levels are ever evading you. As soon as you feel like you've got a lot of grip, you go over a crest, and all of a sudden everything's wheel spinning. And so easy to miss a junction or a braking zone and just slide off of the side of the road there, where you can get either a substantial reset penalty, or if you're very, very unlucky, a DNF from it.
Yeah, and it's not exactly the nicest fall either. It's a very tall. They keep climbing and climbing, and as you can see on the top left corner, they're only just starting to go down that hill. But this is our longest stage we're going to drive today. It's 16.7 kilometers, of course. Frida-O, I'm going to say as it's written. And it's going to be a very tricky stage for our drivers. And as you saw, Panju making a mistake very, very early on. And obviously, John, as a driver yourself, probably the worst place you want to mistake. The worst place you don't want to make a mistake is at the start and at the end.
Yeah, I think driving in Portugal could be described as between a rock and a hard place. But it's very, very tricky to drive in any gravel rally that has so many obstacles. I mean, look at, for example, Ryan going through a town section, Alex going over crests and just on the side of a mountain, basically. And you've just got to adapt and improvise is the best word for it. You've just got to be so reactive to what your force feedback is telling you, so reactive to what the pace notes are telling you as well. They're quite good info, to be fair, on sort of not cutting or the camber of the road, so you can actually be quite committed to the corners. But as you can see, Ryan into a downhill section now here, so you're approaching speeds of 180 kilometers per hour. The maximum I've seen is about 200 kilometers per hour on some of these stages, and so over all of these jumps, all of these crests, you have to be pinpoint perfect just to even survive the stage. And with so many rocks on the side of the road, punctures are actually your main culprit of time loss, to be fair.
Yeah, and we're hoping that none of our drivers pick up their punctures. I just saw Alex Gillen very much holding on to his Volkswagen there as we're coming up to a very sharp right-hander. As we switch back to Panju, is that not? Sorry, not Panju. Yeah,
that's Aerotech, I think.
Aerotech. Yes, I do apologise. My naming is not my strongest of suits. Yes, it is Aerotech. Looks like he may have had a slight off, but has recovered well. You can see the concentration on his face. I think I saw this very much the last time I commentated on him. He's a very, very intense man, but he can have a good laugh as well.
I think it's company, definitely company policy to blame producer if you misspell a name or get something wrong. So we're doing that, right, Gareth? Anyway, moving on from that, Aerotech's normally really, really good in these types of rallies. He has a background in drifting and, just being on the limit with the car sideways. So on the gravel rally where you've got a lot of junctions, a lot of start and stop sort of driving, he can really be aggressive with the car, get it rotated, and get it through the corners. You can see through this town section, he's just absolutely going for it, and it's lovely to watch because he's not afraid to use the handbrake. He's not afraid to go for it. And there it is, definitely Punju there on the name tag. Definitely nothing wrong going on there. Gareth has already started his antics this evening. So Alex, I will pray for you in the upcoming hours.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Gareth's antics for a long time. That's they get better and better as the day goes on. Now, just for obviously, I personally know what's going on, John, but maybe for someone that's new to watching WRC and not watched it that much on the Creator Series, obviously the drivers at the top have got their information told by their co-driver. What is that? Some of that information that they are getting up there.
So you can get visual symbols to help you out along with the audio as well in game, and it can be quite good visually, especially if the pace notes aren't exactly suiting what you want as a driver. So generally the colors mean how difficult the corner is. If it's a green corner, it's quite an easy flat out corner most of the time. If it's yellow, you've got to slow down for it. If it's red, it's definitely a hairpin or something where you have to be really cautious, like a junction or a road with a serious obstacle in it. You've got lines there, the lines that are like a bridge almost, or crests or jumps, and you've got arrows pointing in the direction where the corner is heading, so left or right, or upside down depending on how hard the drivers are pushing, or whether they're in Australia indeed. And the number of corners as well, so the number indicates how tight or complex the corner is. 6 is normally a flat out, whereas 1, it's Punju, that's a huge crash for Punju. Has he recovered it? I cannot believe it. He's actually done a 360 mid-air and has recovered that, losing maybe 2 or 3 seconds only. Incredible stuff. I don't think the pace notes had anything to do with that. The driving skill had everything to do with that. And he looks like he's got a bit of a smile on his face, but he's also looking a bit petrified as well at the same time. That is Portugal in a nutshell. Just to finish up on the pace notes, you can have other... So 1 would be a really, really tight corner, for example. I'm not sure if it was in Punju's best interest to crash into that gate there, or I think it was a wall. But you can see how difficult the grip levels are changing. In this particular town section that they're going through, both Punju and Punju apparently, you have cobblestones, you have gravel, you have grass, you have tiny bits of tarmac at the end here. You have even rocks to go over on one of the apexes. So you're adapting to everything the wheel's telling you, everything the grip levels and traction loss is telling you. And sometimes you can just overcorrect and drive into an obstacle, even though you have the best intentions not to. So most people, you have the option in the game to choose between simplified pace notes, which will just tell you medium, tight, or very open corner, very simplified stuff, or you can go for the complex pace notes that most people run. Also, another note that I can see here on the screen, you've got a little number in grey at the bottom which indicates how long it is until the corner. So 80 is normally the amount of meters before the next corner. So it gives you a good sense of the rhythm of the stage and how quick the next pace note is approaching.
Well, I think the drivers are taking that very good information. That jump is so sketchy. A lot of this stage, as you were saying, because you go from dirt to track, dirt to track to hills to what God knows what they are going through. And you see Gillen very, very much voicing his opinion as always. Well, I don't know, Gillen. It is stress for sure. I mean, he's looking like he's having a whale of a time. I mean, driving on loose surfaces is really good fun, and unfortunately, that's the disadvantage of driving on loose surfaces when you lose the rear end of the car like that.
Yeah, I think we've got information coming in from Alex Gillen's co-driver. I think it's something along the lines of "Listen to my calls, Samir. You have to listen to my calls." But it's difficult. It is difficult to adapt to a different format of racing where you're not racing the same corners all the time, where you're doing everything improvising. And I know a lot of Formula One the drivers or circuit racing drivers basically, and they always want to go out on that first lap and just nail a practice lap, and they might outbrake themselves by 1 or 2 meters, but nothing too bad, like going up a bank, for example. Just an example, definitely not quoting anything that's happening on screen right now. But you can't really do that in rally, especially if you're not familiar with how to drive these cars. You've got to go a little bit cautious and make sure that you don't damage them too much, because on a rally like this, you definitely don't want to get suspension damage and stuff like that, because it makes the car so difficult to drive. Right now, the car's handling quite good. It's in quite good condition, so it will absorb the bumps. But if you start getting damper and suspension damage, you'll just bounce off the stage all the time. He is absolutely over the limit, I was about to say, and that is a good recovery though. I'd love to see a replay of that, but yeah, he is very much in the mud. The mud might be dry, yes indeed, according to our producer, but it might be damp with tears in just a bit of time.
I mean, if it's in the F1 world, we call that overdriving the car, I believe is what exactly he is doing there. But I mean, I love Gillen coming in racing, because I feel like it's so far out of his comfort zone, really, in compared to F1, where he knows the circuit inside out, as you were saying, and you're doing lap after lap. But I suppose in something like rally, you can't really just go turn up to the rally and say, "Can I have a quick 15-minute practice session around it?" Because we're 10 minutes in, you get one lap, and one run, and that's it.
There's quite a few drivers that have sampled rally driving, actually. Most recently, you've got Lance Stroll, who did a practice session in a Citroën Rally 2 car a few, was it weeks ago or days ago? Anyway, it's very, very recent that he did a test there. He meant to keep it quiet. As you see, Aerotech facing the ticker tape there and going the wrong way, so having to reverse. And Punju, I'm not sure whether that was, that's definitely a boulder, and that is huge damage on the car, but potentially a puncture, but radiator damage as well. So that is catastrophic, as he's still got a sector to go, and that will be hefty repairs at the service, maybe even a double puncture, in which case he has to be very, very cautious right now. But yeah, he has not gotten away with that, and it just shows, even for our experienced drivers, it can get out of hand way quicker than you would expect it. To quote just briefly other drivers that have tested rally driving, you've got Carlos Sainz Jr., who did rally driving as a means to train with his dad early on in his career. You had Martin Brundle, if I remember correctly, who did the RAC rally, so a rally, the UK rally on the WRC calendar, for those who might not be familiar. And you had Ayrton Senna as well, who trialled multiple Group B cars and other rally cars when he had the time to do so. So very, very entertaining stuff to watch. But it is, as you say, a very different format, and one that is much more unforgiving, I'd say, than hurtling a Formula One car, for example, around a track for a few laps.
Certainly is, and the pun is for puncture in Punju. It's accurate. But yeah, that car. Well, I think he's going to need to go to auto glass replace for that windscreen for sure. But hopefully he can get some repair done. I was just reading the notes on our information here. It doesn't say it's got a service area on this stage. I assume that doesn't matter because you can repair it in the next one.
It will have at the end of this stage, so he's not too far in the mud. He will have a time to replace any parts on the car. Although I would suggest at this point that he goes to WeBuyAnyCar.com, not sponsored, to sell the car, because it's just done. He may as well replace it for another one. So he's going to have a lot of problems to replace any consequent parts. He might need to even just focus on the radiator and the engine, and suspension and stuff. He'll just have to drive it to the next service area to get a little bit more time. We got basically, I think, our two favourites for this rally. Vlembar on controller and Kamikaze on his trusty steering wheel. Two of the fastest drivers since the beginning of Creator Series, really. They have been on form recently. They have been ever so rapid, and we're looking for good times, as this is probably one of their favourite rallies. I'm hearing that we can possibly get an interview going on right now with Punju, and I'm sure he might not want to speak about what has just happened, but there was an incident with a boulder there briefly. Care to explain?
Oh, I mean, we don't need to talk about the boulder. I mean, he was just there minding his own business,
Okay, it's not a boulder; it's a rock.
It was a big rock. It was whoopsies. I destroyed so many rocks and boulders. That was rough, dude. That was a tough one. Not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna go better than it did, and that was a tough one.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
sorry.
It's the time that you spent off of the sort of Creator Series tour hampering you in any way?
Oh, I'm sure it's definitely not helping. I mean, I'm obviously, I'm on the mend right now from being sick, and so I'm doing my best to just, get out there and go put down some times. And wow, I struggled hard on that one, big time. That was a tough one.
You, Alex. Sorry for interrupting you earlier.
Well, that's okay. I was just going to say, yeah. So from basically the opening moments of that stage, the first boulder, was it things to come? Did you think this is not going to go well from here on out, or were you like, I can recover from this, but did it just slowly just drop more and more?
I mean, honestly, I felt fine for most of the stage. It was going all right. Like, it wasn't like great, it wasn't terrible. But then it was like 2/3 of the way through, I hit that boulder that gave me the puncture, and I was like, oh yeah, that's rough. And I had to make a split-second decision of, do I take the repair or do I just keep going with it? I'm glad I didn't take the repair because I ended up only 2 minutes off, and I was definitely more than 30 seconds away from the leader on that. So I would have been worse if I had taken the puncture repair. But still, it was a tough choice to make, and yeah, that was a hard stage. That was a really tough stage.
I think the two most difficult stages have passed for you because Friedau has quite a bit of tarmac sections which aren't practice, and I noted that you crashed on one of the sections where the roads goes in a different area if you're on the shorter stage. Also with FAF before a new stage as well, so maybe a chance for redemption on some of the stages that you know a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I'll be a lot better on the next couple stages. Viana de Castello is pretty good. And Everderos, I love that one. So, yeah, I think this will be a little bit better. Just honestly, the less asphalt, the better for me. Villaboa, which is number 5. Dear gosh, there's no way I make it through that one alive. So, the less asphalt, the better for me, for sure.
We'll definitely keep an eye on you on stage 5 then, for sure. We'll make
Oh
sure
god,
we've got
I should have said that.
There's
Okay.
Validator's curse.
Yeah,
I
Whoopsies.
want to an open you,
Whoopsies.
it didn't come from me.
Yeah, finally, first time for everything, right? Holy smokes!
Definitely not the last though. But we shall possibly leave you to it to go into the next stage. All the best, and the boulders are meant to help you get back on track, not crash into them.
You're right.
Thank
I
you,
need to remember
Bungie.
that philosophy.
Right there.
Thanks, guys.
No worries. It's always great. And we'll have a double interview straight after Puncher. We've got Jam in the who looks like he was distracted there or jump scared, one or the other. How is it going this evening? We noted you were vibing over the FAF jump a little bit.
Yes.
But are the vibes correct today?
The vibes are correct today. A slight different strategy from last week, because I actually did try to practice last week, which made it more detrimental for me because it got into my head in the actual stages. Today is I did maybe some practice with like the Villa Polka stage, just for a little bit, just to get a tune down. But other than that, I am just vibing today. Just my pace would be my normal pace. I don't think I'm gonna try to push, because whenever I try to push, I hit the wall, or the rock, or the trees, or everybody else. So
Good selection there. I must admit that's a lot of things that you could potentially hit. So what you're saying is you could hit everything on the stage, basically. Isn't that the perfect description of Rally Portugal?
this is true. This is true. Not to mention the houses, but yes, all of the above and the houses.
Well, Alex, this is new information for me. There's houses
Yeah.
in Portugal.
There's a lot of houses in Portugal, as it turns out. But obviously, we saw the end of your stage 1. How did you feel like stage 2 went for you? Because obviously, it's probably the hardest one, the longest one on the
Stage
of
2
the
actually
rally.
felt pretty good. Like I said, I'm flying in blind today, so my pace typically starts pretty crap at like the 300 mark, and then I try to claw my way up, but then not pushing too hard. And then as same thing with last week, right? Like just try to keep myself out of trouble, keep going as fast as I can. And then if the others make a mistake, then they will take penalties and not me. That kind of situation. So I will try my best, and I feel like I'm gonna just keep the pace that I'm at, and then maybe just a little more to try to get faster.
Nice flight simulator reference, by the way, at the start of your comment there, flying in blind. But anyway, I wanted to ask as well. The puns are just way too much this evening. Apparently, apologise to Gareth, who has to hear all of our antics. Is there any driver that you're sort of aiming to beat this evening?
No one in particular, because I went back to my old strat of literally not looking at the numbers until the very end. But based on the championship standings, I think it's Arrow and myself kind of back to back in terms of like leadership, creator standing points. So I can try to. My goal is to just get some points today and maybe get close to or beat him. But I know pace wise, he's way faster than I am. I just drive a lot more. So I'm gonna try my best to get points, but I'm pretty sure it's between Encephalosis and Arrow in terms of like actual pace.
Well, we can't wait to find out. I think it's nearly time for you to start your next stage, so we'll leave you to it. But thank you ever so much for your time, as usual, and all the best for the next stages. So here we go into the next stages. Viana de Castello. It's a very, very tricky stage here, all the way uphill. It's just one of those stages once again where you just have to commit to the corners, and I think this is the start of the Friedel stage. So they've already done this first section, or at least part of it. So they'll be a bit more committed in here. That's always the danger, as Jam said, is that you practice and then you get reference points, and you always aim for those points, but when you've only got one shot at it, you always have a 5mm difference or a bit more. That's when the mistakes come in. That's when you lose grip, and that's when everything goes wrong. And I want to say that I didn't jinx that, but there you go. There's evidence right there. The producer is laughing in the background right now. It's the scenes.
The commentator's curse is too strong. It really is. But I'm sure he can recover on his lap. He's going to keep the vibes up. He seemed very happy. I'm going to, if he keeps his vibe up all the way, Gareth has told me that we can give him extra points in the championship. So I think vibe points should be given. But he's doing well through this first section of, as you mentioned, Viva do Castelo, which I said very well.
I'm sure that's much better than what I could do. Trying to get an overall report of the first two stages right now loaded up so I can give a little bit of a rundown. But Jam, no, he's caught between a rock and a hard place once again. Yes, I promise to not make that joke once again. There was a distinct opportunity there for it to go very, very wrong. Portugal is very, very bright. It must be. It can be very distracting, actually, especially when going over crests. You're looking for, the roads and all that, and the blindness can get to you. I think we've got another interview lined up with Ryan, who has just completed this stage 3. Is it going to plan so far, Ryan?
Surprisingly, yes. Stage 1, I made a bit of a mishap before the big jump and lost about 8 seconds. Just miscalculated a turn and then clipped the curb and did a 360 spin. But stage 2, I was quite shocked at the time I did, which was top 10 overall, which I was like, okay, because all the time I've been practicing for that stage, I've lost like 30 seconds at least. So my delta was like 35 seconds at the end, which was like unheard of for me. And just now, decent one, top 25 in this stage as well. But I'm expecting the likes of Kamikaze and Ko to leapfrog me. But so far, car's clean, which is shockingly amazing right now. But I could jinx myself at that point. But the difficult stages are gone now. The next couple should be straightforward, but kind of scared for stage 6 coming up because practicing, I had a terminal on that one, so I'm kind of worried about that one.
I've noted down that you have not, let's say, a rivalry with Alex Gillen, but you'd quite like to beat him, and he'd quite like to be ahead of you as well. So what's your strategy to sort of intimidate or psychological warfare versus Alex Gillen?
Well, if don't know if the viewers know, me and Alex go way back from like the F1 Codemasters days from like 2012 times when we used to do league racing. So yeah, it's good to see Gooden here. I'm not sure if he's practiced for this event, but I mean, he goes command, full on send. I respect that. Not sure what he's driving, but hopefully he's picked either the Ford or the Citroen. But I mean, it should be a good fight. All I've just got to do is just keep it on track, and I should be fine on that one. But there's other people really. Focusing on Aerotech is one we've been quite close in some rallies this season. Good to see Punju back as well. He's up there as well. Was one of our rivalries as well this season. But I mean, as I've said in previous interviews, like I'm here to just have a bit of fun. Something on the side. To have some fun with other content creators, and yeah, we'll see how we get on tonight. And as I say, the aim's to finish, but have fun at the same time.
It's like a plan. Over to you, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, every racer says it's fun until they start winning. So, right. I think if you keep winning, mate, it's going to become more about the competition. But joking apart, I mean, you look fantastic what we've watched so far. And I mean, the people you've spoken about, we've seen have had quite a few incidents. So, I mean, so far, it's looking all thumbs up.
That's encouraging, but it's only 3 stages. I mean, there's some more difficult stages to come, and in practice, I've had some issues where it's not more terminal, it's more the amount of damage I have going into the last few stages, where obviously it hinders performance of the car. So my aim for the next couple is just to keep it clean, try not take too many risks. But I mean, as John and others will know, I do like to go off what I say and want to try and get that extra temp for seconds that could push me up the leaderboard. But I mean, we'll see how it goes after this next stage and what tyre strat I go for, because I think that's going to be the key, I think.
Paraphrase a certain racing driver. If you don't go for the gap between the rocks, you're no longer a racing driver.
Exactly.
He actually said
Well, it's
that.
great to hear from you. Sorry, Alex, carry on.
He actually said that. It wasn't paraphrasing. He said, if you don't go through between the rocks. That's what he said.
Most
Indeed.
Definitely, yes. I do remember that quote, obviously, from, what was it? Alan Prost, I think, made that quote. Yes,
Yeah, I think
most
so.
definitely.
Nigel Mansell. Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, many thanks for your time, Ryan, and all the best for making sure that Alex doesn't win this one, eh?
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. But I'll speak to you guys later on.
Sounds like a plan to me as well. For context for our viewers, I will call myself out. I did also race against Alex in the Formula 1 series. I managed to beat him precisely once on the Formula 1 game, where he made 4 pit stops in the race on the wrong tyre strategies, and I only managed to beat him by 10 seconds. So there you go. That describes his pace and his potential in any type of racing game, really. Once he gets the knack of it, once he gets into the groove, it's truly something mesmerising to watch. But Ryan is no slouch of a driver either, and his results in endurance racing prove that point as well. So it's going to be oh so good to look at the overall results. Getting just into the wall there a little bit, but no harm done. Just wanted to catch up after stage 2. We had the top 2 separated by just a couple of tenths of a second. You have Vlembar and Kamikaze sat in P2 and P3 overall, with Ambient Mike less than 10 seconds away. So it is all go now for the top 3 of our Creator Series standings, which are run separately to the overall leaderboards that you can see sometimes from our drivers.
Oh, Gillen had quite a big crash on that left-hand side, but we are now focusing. He's back. Gillen in the mud. He was on the wall, that's for sure. But our producer appears to be switching between them quite often.
Once again, he has crashed once again. The junctions are so difficult to get right, because they are very rarely indicated properly. There's a small tiny arrow if you know exactly where to look for, like that one that you just saw there on the right hand side, pointing to where you're meant to go. But honestly, most of the time just sideways, you don't even notice the arrow, or you've already knocked it over with the side of your car. So good luck trying to figure out where you're meant to go. And so that's why it's so crucial to listen to the pace notes. But when you don't have that constant information in your ear, it can be oh so difficult. And I know that Formula 1 drivers do love telling their engineer to be a bit more quiet during the races. So it can be quite distracting for a driver that's not used to it.
Yeah, they don't enjoy Mark speaking, but Mark is not here, unfortunately. So they have to deal with their actual co-driver and actually listen to them, as you were saying. As we join on a RCJPH, who's a bit further on here, I believe, on stage 4, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, just about to come to the end of it.
Yeah, this looks like Hervidero, if I pronounce it correctly. So it's the
That sounds
reverse
pretty good.
of stage 3, which is one of the favorite stages for time trialing. So quite a few drivers will know the stage. Punjo mentioned it earlier. You know, it's one of the stages that I think is 3 minutes or so long, maybe a bit longer than that. No, there you go, 5 minutes. My apologies. But it's quite a well-known stage, and one where you have to take quite a few risks, as well as the last section is really downhill, very, very tight, twisty. We do have finally Phil on the broadcast. He was having a bit of an audio issue earlier, but I'm glad to see he got that resolved, and he's into the stages flat out. It looks like I'm guessing that is the Polo, but I'm not quite sure. It could be the Citroen. I'm second guessing myself now. We will find out. It's the Citroen. Oh no. Oh, my first intuition was wrong. I'm in the mud now. It's all downhill from here, Gareth.
That's it. Oh, I think well,
downhill.
Phil went down very downhill very quickly, but it's continued back. I think we're going to give it another go.
Exactly the same place that Alex Ginham spun in as well, or had to take manoeuvring. But but my jinxing abilities are getting too much. So Alex, please take the wheel, as they say.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, my jinxing ability is not much better. Kamikaze just getting ready to start his run of stage 4 as well. So as you said, one of the favourites here this afternoon. How have you been doing so far in the first 3 stages?
Well, got the updated results for stage 3 overall. Kamikaze has taken a stage win on stage 3, which promotes him into the lead overall, 1.5 seconds ahead of his teammates Tristan, who is not part of our broadcast. We got Vlembar in P3, one of the only Volkswagens in the top 10. So doing very well, only 4 seconds away, so it's very, very close. Ambient Mike 15 seconds away. We've got Contanza Olmo struggling again, 28 seconds. He might have had a puncture or some problem in one of the stages. Ryan is right there with Contan as well, 33 seconds only off of the lead, which is very, very close times in this type of rallying. And I will update on other drivers as I find them.
Lovely stuff as we get back with Phil, who's looking very good so far. Apart from that one major incident, as I say that as he goes off on the right, again, commentary curse is incredibly strong. But there's so many rocks to avoid around here, and I mean, the concentration's on that man's face. I'm loving his gloves as well, and you've got a lovely view of his socks too. At least he doesn't drive barefoot, because people that drive barefoot on, you know, pedals is very, very worrying, because it is genuinely can be very hard on your feet. You drive barefoot. Our producer drives barefoot, everyone. I respect them even less than I already did. As a joke.
Gareth getting pulled out there.
No, that was... Yeah, do you drive barefoot, John, or do you drive with shoes? Or do you drive with just socks?
If I'm going competitive driving, say an esports event or something, I'll put on very thin-soled shoes to get a little bit of grip. So, you know, almost like old-fashioned driving shoes. You know, you got a very, very thin sole to the point where like gravel would hurt if you ever stepped on something, or a bit of Lego if you're in your sim racing room, I guess. But you know, sometimes I think any sort of thick-soled shoes is a definite disadvantage. Definitely no barefoot here, that's for sure. You know, I take good care of my equipment, and you know, that's a line too far, as they say.
Yeah, I only wear socks. I did have some racing boots when I did road tax racing, but they're still a little too thick for that. But yeah, it's nice to see someone wearing socks and not being a psychopath like our producer. It did not look so good for Phil on certain aspects of this stage. I wonder if he's got a problem with his car. Doesn't going as fast. He almost goes straight off the side of the mountain there.
And the tires that are struggling. I think we couldn't get Alex Ginham into the commentary booth, as Gareth is saying, so hopefully you can hear us, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of answers from him. Alex, the car looking a little bit battered and bruised here. Any stories to talk about there?
Well, what makes you say that? The car's completely fine. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I must
it's-
admit, I don't know what I'm talking about.
it's difficult, man. It's so hard. Portugal's just brutal, isn't it? I don't think I'm doing too bad. That last stage wasn't the best for me. The first ones I felt like I was doing okay, mainly just keeping out of trouble, trying not to push too hard. But my aim was to beat Ryan 83 today, but I was unfamiliar with his game. Ryan seems absolutely rapid on this game, so I think that's going to be an uphill battle. But I think for me now, just surviving is going to be the main aim of the game. I'm doing all right. The last one wasn't great, but I just got to mud through it, really, I think.
I love asking this question to all of the drivers that come from circuit racing. What's the most difficult thing about rallying to get used to?
Oh, God. I
mean,
it's-
everything isn't an answer.
Yes, everything is the answer, but I can't say that. It's probably just obviously the stage notes, like see what's coming up next, getting used to what it means. That's certainly at the beginning the most difficult part, but I'm okay with them for the most part. But it's so easy to get caught out just breaking a tiny bit too late, and suddenly you go a little bit wide, you're in the wall, you're backwards, and it's real bad effect. Whereas in circuit racing, you break a little bit too late, you're fine. You might lock up a little bit, you go a little bit deep, but you just recover it. Not the case in rally, unfortunately.
It's you, Alex, for a question, perhaps.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, obviously, as someone who does commentate a lot of F1 and drive F1 as well, watching someone who goes from that to this is quite incredible, really. But in terms of how you've been driving, if you can... I thought I had a good question in my head and it's disappeared instantly. I will rethink my question.
I'll question. How about that? Where can I improve? I think was maybe where the question was possibly going to go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm still just trying to stay out of trouble. I made quite a few mistakes in that last one, but for me at the moment, it's just about avoiding damage. I was trying to have a fully repaired car. I've failed that, but I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. So like when I'm going deep, just thinking, okay, don't try and gain half a second by flooring it on the off track. Make sure you avoid that massive rock sort of thing. That's what I'm concentrating on right now.
Yeah.
So obviously, if I can stop making those mistakes, I can stop thinking like that, and I can just think about where I can gain time rather than think about where I can avoid crashes. That's probably where the most of the time is for me.
I remembered my question. I was going to say, even though it may not be, up there as like you would be in Formula One and Creator Series, you look like you're having the time of your life out on track. Is something you're really enjoying doing, something very different to what you normally do?
Yes, it's stressful and I'm sweating, but yes, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. But it is so difficult to, I'm just like, the whole stage, just freaking out, especially the longer ones. Like, please just survive, don't die. Oh, I'm enjoying it, but it is stressful. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be very happy to know that we caught something of that umming and ahhing on the live broadcast, so you can go
good.
watch that later.
Very
Enjoy that. But it's about time to let you get on to the next stage. So I just want to say thank you ever so much for your insight. Very interesting to hear what you have to say in depth about the adapting to the game. And we hope that you can get some good stage times in on the latter half of the.
I'll try.
Of the
Top 100 if I can. I'll do my best. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Caleb.
Sounds like a plan. It's always great to hear from our drivers, especially people who we haven't interviewed yet. It can be, very daunting to sort of answer questions with such new info and sort of a vast thing of that you're trying to understand at the same time. But Alex always gives great insight, and it's good to hear that. To be fair,
yeah, it certainly is. Especially if you think about this, someone that comes from such a F1 sided world, and especially a side that he's always racing at the top, if not the top of the the top of the standing. So going from something that he's very good at to something that he's still learning must be quite different for him. But as he said to us, he seems to be really enjoying it, so which is really good. And he is driving the Volkswagen Polo. Was that what Ryan ask about either of those cars? I don't think he did he? He asked about the Fiesta or the Citroen. He's not driving either of them.
yeah, I think he's in the Fiesta, if I remember correctly, is Ryan.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a lot of personal preference. Most of the cars can be quick. The Citroens, I'd say, definitely a level below. just because of the lack of aerodynamics. It's got the power, but the aero is just a disaster. As Sebastien Ogier described it once, I'm sure Citroën were very happy about that description. Even if I remember correctly, it almost led to a lawsuit and a cancellation of contract. So yeah, that was a topsy-turvy moment. And to be fair, it didn't exactly get the best results because at the end of the year in 2019, Citroën pulled out entirely of the WRC1 Championship. So yeah, not got the best reputation, that car, but we do enjoy it because of its uniqueness, let's put it that way, and its ability to bottom out and crash into every single tree. I heard possibly that we might have another interview lined up, but I misheard the driver. It's Mr. Kamikaze. There he is, looking good at the top of the leaderboard. Let's have a talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just take 10 seconds penalty. I don't know why, but okay. That's stupid
The
from me.
commentator's curse.
Yeah, but it's okay. We're having fun.
Is it one of the rallies that you enjoy the most? I know you like fast-flowing rallies, but gravel rallies always a good one.
No. Easy answer. No, this is not this is pain in the ass for me. So, but yeah, I need to just.
That €10,000 fine right there.
Yeah,
Noted
sorry.
down there.
I send you on PayPal after this one. So now I'm just a little worried about my tire strat. I know Lemba are gonna change now, but my strategy is a little bit different. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do now. So.
What are you looking most towards? Winning the rally overall, or focusing on the Credit Series points and maybe saving tires till later?
I don't have the pace to win overall. You see that on the last stage. I would lose 8 seconds on a short stage, just because I don't like the stage and have no knowledge. But yeah, I think I will save my tires to the last stage actually. So I will go 2 more with this tire set and have fun from there. I think go for the power stage win.
Alex, perhaps you got a question.
Yeah, is there any stage from now to the end that you're not looking forward to the most?
The long one.
Long one.
The next
Don't
long
know
one.
what
So yeah.
What stage?
And if everything goes to the plan, we will just send it on the power stage.
Yeah, stage
so-
9 is the long one, 15.1 kilometers.
Yes.
So-
So we will start that stage with new tires. So we will have. I think we will have. No, hold on. We will have 7. Yeah, I don't care. We take it when we get there.
I think that's a good answer. That's a solid answer, that is.
This is the most flustered I've ever seen him. Normally he's just care to the wind. Everything's fine. Everything's going well. But it turns out rocks are not your forte. Then you'd prefer another snow rally, perhaps.
Yes, of course. And we like a little bit of asphalt, but in four-wheel drive, not front-wheel drive. But we will see what we can do the rest of this one and try to. We will try to get in the minute behind the leader when we get to the finish line. So, yep.
Okay, sounds like a plan. I think it's probably time for you to start your next stage, but it was great hearing your insights. And, we hope that the tires will last. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's only 14Ks now to tire change, so I think it will be good.
Awesome.
Famous last words. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you, mate.
Well, I've just got some images from Alex Gillen just having another roll on the stage. So he's pushing the limits still. He said he was going to try and drive cautiously a little bit. It's as soon as you get to that start line, it just goes out the window, as we say, and you just push to the limit. But Kamikaze finally got his tarmac like he wanted, and in four-wheel drive, just the wrong tires on the car. Gravel tires do not grip very good on this type of tarmac, and you can get a lot of understeer into the corners, so you've got to be very, very careful. Oh, he hits the wall quite hard there. Get away with it. My God, that was lucky. But that's the type of limits we have to start pushing if you want to set the fastest times. And Kamikaze and Lembar and the likes, they have to keep pushing the pace more and more because the level in Creator Series goes up. Exponentially, let's say.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, he seems to be driving with a little bit of anger behind him as well. As you said, probably the most. I've only interviewed him twice, and that's definitely the most flustered I've seen him on that. On that interview there, he was very much just worried about the whole thing, to be honest with you. But he's now racing back under the car, which I think is where he enjoys to be the most. I've got to say, looking at all of these different drivers, some of them like to drive in the cockpit with their wheel moving. Some of them like to drive on the, near the front of the bonnet. Some of them drive on the dashboard. I mean, is it just personal preference once again, John? Or is there a reason behind it?
From experience, I mean, if you're thinking from a competitive point of view, there's always a few tenths of a second driving in Kamikaze's view, so on the bonnet or on the hood, as the fellow Americans would say. It's you can see more of the road. It's a more sort of top-down view, as I'd say. You've got a lot more view, as you can see. For example, from Vlembar's perspective, you're quite limited because you've got elements of the car in the way, and when you get to a blind apex, you've just got to judge where you're going across the road, whereas Kamikaze can see a lot more. However, there's also other elements at play which could mean that you take one view over the other. Sitting so far forwards on the car can give you a false impression of how much grip you've got and how understeery or oversteery the car is, and it changes your driving style quite a bit. I know a lot of drivers that like to stay on board, so Vlembar's point of view, for example, just because it's more central to the car, so when the car starts to rotate, you get a more sort of visual image of that rotation, and you can perhaps correct the car a little bit more efficiently. So it's all about risk taking and what feels comfortable to you. Because at the end of the day, nothing replicates real life vision where you can just look over the dash and like have everything out of focus apart from what you're looking at. So, any view can be faster, just depends on the driver. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's great to see all the drivers using a different kind of view because it just makes it a little bit more interesting for everyone, especially like they're all using different cars, which I very much enjoy as well. And Kamikaze looking good through, I believe, are we stage 6 or still stage 5 for these drivers? Still
Stage 5, according to my books here. I don't see any times for them yet on stage 5 for Kamikaze and Vlembar, but they're going for uphill. That's one of the difficulties of Portugal, is the constant elevation change. You're never really going along the flats. You're either climbing up a mountain or going back down it. And that can mean difference in tire wear, difference in braking, and in driving style in general. You want to be very aggressive on the downhill bits and quite conservative on the uphill bits to maintain momentum. And that was the role from Alex Gillen that I think I saw earlier. So unfortunately, I think he ended that one on his roof. So not only does he get a video taken by spectators, you can see there, clipping the rock on the inside.
Oh.
Very easy to do that because you can't see it. I didn't spot it until he drove over it.
Well, that's certainly the incident and a half. That one, and he's well, I was going to say he hasn't got away with it that time, unfortunately, for Mr. Gillen. But we return to Kamikaze and Vlembar. Of course, as you were saying, the two favourites for today's rally here in Portugal, and they've, as you mentioned, they're nip and tuck in all the stages we've done so far.
I was just going to mention about Alex Gillen. He's finally finding out that you cannot go over the sausage curbs like you can in Formula 1. You've got to avoid them, regardless of the ride height. I think there's a difference in controls here. Vlembar might have the advantage in very low speed sections with rotating the car on controller, but the high speed stuff, I'd expect Kamikaze to have a little bit of an advantage. But we've seen these two so close many times before. I mean, they fought for the championship at least twice. So they know that they can be. Hang on, was that a penalty for Kamikaze? I think a 10-second penalty and 24 seconds off the pace. So unfortunately, another stage where it's come true that he's had a bit of a disaster in that one. That might leave the door open for Vlembar to just swoop in, not only snatch the Creator Series lead, but potentially P2 overall.
And what can cause those 10-second penalties for him, John?
I'd say a 10-second penalty is on off track. So sliding too far off the road and getting reset. If it's a 5-second penalty, it can also be 2 5-second penalties for corner cutting. So you see some red bollards sometimes on the inside of corners, like the one he's just approaching right here. And if you go over those too far or go completely the wrong side of them, they'll give you an automatic 5-second penalty. And can also give you damage to your car, but those can rack up pretty quickly. But that 10 seconds, I'd say, is just an off track. Yeah, Flembar, very, very good time
That's a
there. Only
very
4
good
seconds
time.
off the pace. And that is definitely him taking the lead from Kamikaze there. So, yeah, he'll be very, very happy with that one. Aerotech just going through a water splash there, I think. There's quite a few elements in Rally Portugal where you have to be quite conservative about your car, namely water splashes. They can give you damage if your car is already weakened. But, you know, there's so many factors at play. For example, aerodynamics. If you damage the front splitter or front aero of the car, over some of the jumps and crests, your car can go airborne just at the front. And just you can see just only sky, which is quite frightening the first time it happens to you. And indeed, every single time it happens to you. So I wouldn't recommend that experience necessarily, but, you know, the drivers have to cope with it. And if they want to push the limits, they will pick up a little bit of damage. Many rally drivers are quoted as saying, if your car comes back to service without any damage, you weren't pushing hard enough.
Yeah, that's what I was always told when I did Rotax karting. Even though it was expensive Rotax, and my engineer always said, I'd rather you have damage because it proves that you've been pushing very hard. Which I was always very happy to prove him wrong in that situation. But Aerotech looking good so far. We saw Punju there just a minute ago before. Was this the stage that Punju was worried about? Was that the previous stage? I think it was the previous stage, wasn't it?
But it's not.
I think it might be stage 6, which he
stage
might be in
6.
right now.
Yeah.
There are quite a few long stages, but you know,
hit the brakes on
overall,
the jump.
quite a few of the kilometers of these
Just accept
stages
you're not
overlap, and it's just different junctions that you take. There's a few different sections, like the tarmac section we saw on stage 2. It's only in that stage, even though most of the other elements are in that stage as well. But you can see Punju's perspective there. The triple screen camera, I love seeing that. It is such a cool experience to be over the shoulder, quite literally, of Punju there, and just it's an immersion experience as he can just judge how the car is handling, how it's sliding, and get all of that peripheral vision if it does indeed go wrong. And as you can see, all the way up over the rocks there, it can go wrong oh so quickly.
It really can. He was pointing at the screen. He was pointing, I'm not going to crash into that wall, but he is going to ride on the barrier there as he looks at the screen and goes, whoa, that was close. But he's carried on, and this is as you mentioned, a fantastic camera view. I mean, this is such a cool setup. And you can see why Punju enjoys racing in WRC so much with what he's got here. And so far, I'd say, even though this was the stage he was worried about the most, he's looked pretty good from what we've seen.
Oh, nearly commentator Sturz right there. He was way off the track, but he managed to recover it before anything bad could happen. I'd say, honestly, our creators here are doing a spectacular job because Portugal is known for the crashes and incidents and just the unpredictableness of it. And to see only, I think, maybe 3 accidents at the moment is very, very impressive to say from all of our drivers, even people that might be inexperienced. I mean, Alex is pushing the limit. That's always what he does. But I'd rather see him push the limit. To be fair, as he said, he needs to learn, and you don't learn stuff by driving carefully. That's the nature of rally.
No, you got to make mistakes.
Just a lovely fist bump from Punju over the jump there. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. He looked really happy about that particular run there, and I'm sure we can try and grab him from interview in a little bit if he wants to have one. As we see Aerotech also finishing up his run at that stage and very much over the jump, and he's quite an incredible thing to see when he's coming up to the end of this.
You can see what I was saying about the car just nosing up on the jump, and you just can't see anything, and you just got to trust that you're on the right line. Let's see if we can get him in for an interview with Aerotech. I think he has dropped channel. There we go. Mr. Aerotech, that was quite a frightful experience on that last jump with the car going airborne and the nose just showing you that there is only sky apparently in Portugal. But you've been pushing the limit so far, and it well, it looks like from our perspective this is going well. What's your description of it?
It's just a tough rally. It's I don't know if it's the hardest one in the game, but it's definitely with these cars it's pretty tough. We start off at Thaf, which is super fast. A lot of mid-speed corners, and then immediately the pace gets slowed down with a lot of these stages here too. You kind of have to adjust your brain to like a 4 isn't a 4 anymore. Like, and it means something different when you've got 3 other corners coming up and there's crests and it's narrow and there's rocks on either side. So adjusting to that is a bit tricky. The jumps are also terrifying, and I know at the end of Fast stage, there's a big jump where if you don't lift, there's rocks to the left, rocks to the right, and usually you're not stuck in the middle. You're stuck on the rocks. So yeah, it's been tough. I did some practice last night. I tried the 30K stage and went, oh my god, I'm never gonna learn this in a night. So I just did FAF backwards and forwards a couple times and went, just do what you know how to do. I don't know how everyone else's rally is going, but I just feel like it's going to be a war of attrition out here.
Been quite a few incidents. Yes, so some people like Alex Gillen, Brian L83, and also Kamikaze having quite a few incidents in there. So, as usual, as you said, Portugal, very technical rally. Is there? I like to ask you this question about a lot of rallies, but with Portugal being so sort of unpredictable, is there any sort of drifting experience that translates across to that?
I think from talking to a couple of the other drivers, I run a lot of more rear foot brake and a lot of the like really slow combos of like 1s and 2s where you could pull the handbrake. I'm doing a lot of like just moving it around on the foot brake. And then obviously with any sort of with drifting, you learn a lot about weight transfer. So just being able to do that and kind of keep the car on a fluid line rather than slide through a corner, grip up, slide through another corner, grip up. You can kind of just keep the same thing going. Also, the back end kicking out under braking and stuff, it does help. But the big difference is it's all-wheel drive. You have that front end to pull you out of a slide. And this has been the biggest struggle for me in practice, actually, is this. I don't know if it's just this car, this class, or that's how they drive, but I always go full throttle to pull it out of a slide, thinking, it'll slide from the rear, because I'm used to driving, rear-wheel drive drift cars. And the front end just goes, all right, and pulls you straight, and then I'm into a tree. So and that's been kind of adjusting, just like slowly rolling on the throttle and being really careful of your throttle position on the exits of corners.
I was just going to mention we were chatting to Kamikaze, and he was worried about his tires going to the last few stages. What are you thinking about tire wear now? Because we've got another long stage coming up as well. You think you're going to be all right with tires coming towards the end of this rally?
The good thing about me and tire wear is I'm a lot slower than Kamikaze is, so I'm not currently doing too bad. Like, my tires are worn, but they should be good for the next 2 stages. I'm on a hard, medium, hard strategy. I thought about running mediums towards the end. Obviously, the power stage is at the end, but I fall into the trap of like, I got to go real fast on the power stage and then rock, and then you have an hour and a half of rallying that gets ruined by one mistake. So we are looking good so far. We have 2 reasonably, 5.5 Ks. So we should be all right going into our hard stint at the end. But it's just I made a lot of really silly mistakes early on. Usually that's my strong suit. I think I got my first corner cut penalty in like 2 seasons today. So I just have to stop doing goofy stuff and kind of capitalize on other people making mistakes and keep the tires clean, keep the car clean.
If you naughty, that'll be at least $1,000 fine, I think, according to the FIA.
That's like 10 grand Canadian, man. I can't do that. Come on, brother. You got to adjust for inflation here.
That's not right. Economy's like right now. It's over. Don't do it.
You ruined me.
Well, in any case, according to Kamikaze, he'll be recreating the Cars 1 opening sequence with his tires. So, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen to you and keep it out of the rocks. I guess it's almost time for you to start the next stage. So we'll leave you on that note. But all the best for the next few stages, and hopefully you get through it all in one piece.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully we don't meet Dwayne again. I've met Dwayne a couple too many times today. I think I'm done with Mr. the Johnson.
Good luck, mate.
He's a bit imposing, that's for sure. But thank you.
Dude, he keeps trying to sell me tequila. I'm not driving. I can't do that right now.
Honestly, that damn rock. I swear.
There's another 10,000 fine. Moving on from that, we're getting rich today, apparently, in Creator Series with fines.
That was a good place to jump into that, camera. It's finishing up for the jump there. It was
Very
It's-
lucky for Vlembar there. Vlembar is knowing that with Kamikaze making mistakes, he's probably been listening to the voice chat that they have going on between the creators, and he's probably listened to Kamikaze get a little bit frustrated. And Vlembar knows. Vlembar knows that if you
Oh.
frustrate, and that's a great way to frustrate Vlembar by a top 2-time overall. He knows if he frustrates Kamikaze, he will make a mistake. I think we might be able to get him in for a little bit of an interview. Vlembar, it's going very, very well at the moment, and with Kamikaze making a few mistakes, do you think this is your chance to gain some points back on him?
Yeah, I have to say I'm a bit surprised how well it is going. Compared to my practice run I did earlier before the broadcast, going way quicker also. So yeah, I'm surprising myself right now. So yeah, and also yeah, Kami, I know he's on a different tire strategy. Probably not the best in terms of overall, but I know he's gonna come back for the power stage, so probably lose a few points there. But yeah, overall it's going perfectly so far.
Is there any reason you can think of, why it's going so well? Is there something you're doing different this time?
To be fair, no. It's just I don't know. It's just going at the moment. I'm surprised that I think I had one minor mistake where I misjudged the hairpin, where I went a bit early. Except that it has been absolutely flawless and also absolutely on the limit. So I'm testing the limit, but for now it's going very smooth, and I hope I can keep it up for the next 5.
And obviously you mentioned that you're on a different tire strat to Kamikaze. Kamikaze was very worried about his tires going into the last few stages. So what are you doing differently to him in those last few stages with your tires?
So Kami's strategy is he's doing the first 6 on hards, then another 4 on hards, and then the medium for the power stage. My strategy for this rally is I'm doing 4 on hards. I switched before stage 5 onto mediums, and I'm gonna switch to hards again before stage 9. So I'm going for the safe option basically. While yeah, like I said, he's going for the power stage option, I'm gonna call it, where he's gonna have fresh tires for the last one.
It's an interesting strategy. I'm just trying to figure out why you would think to take that strategy, because obviously, you're battling essentially for the championship with him among other drivers, and can you afford to go for the power stage when the gaps are so close?
Mm. In my personal opinion, I was actually expecting him to also switch up his strategy, but yeah, I was surprised after stage 5 that he told me that he's stuck to his original plan with the power stage tire strat basically. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's the optimal one, but he's for sure, if everything goes well, gonna get some points back on the last one.
Good assessment. Alex, got anything to add to that?
No, nothing at all. I think it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how this goes, because as you were saying, you think it's been going so well so far. Is there any stages left that you're really worried about? Obviously, we've got the long stage coming up after the 2 5.5-kilometer ones. But apart from that, is there anything you're really worried about?
Probably the last 3, because I haven't practiced them once in my practice runs. I didn't have the time before the broadcast to do the last 3, but yeah, at the moment I have a good gap. So if I can keep it or by any way extend it a bit on the next 2, I think I have a good possibility to just go safe and still keep the overall win and just dismiss the power stage basically.
Well, sounds like a very good plan. Let's see if you can make that stick. I think it's nearly time for you to go into your next stage, so we'll leave you there and just want to thank you for your time and your great explanations of what's going on.
It's a pleasure. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, we will do indeed. Enjoy the stages as well if you can. Anyway, it's always great hearing from our drivers to see the different points of view they have. That's the one thing that I always notice, that you can ask them the same exact question, they'll always come up with a different answer or a different detail to add in, let's say. And there we go on stage 7, Passos. This is the inverse, if I remember correctly, of the FAF stage. So you're going the first section, but reversed, and so it's quite technical, quite twisty, as you can see there, going straight into the bushes for Phil. But he looks like he's in a good rhythm for the moment.
Certainly does. Of course, we're 7 stages down. We've got a 4 to go after this, including the power stage. Now, obviously, John, for people that may be joining us for the first time, what is different between the stage we've been doing and the power stage?
Oh, well, the power stage, last stage of the rally, and basically it's the one where you can get extra points. You've got 5 points on offer for a victory, 4 points for a second place, all the way down to 5th place for 1 point. And it's a good chance to redeem yourself on the sort of overall standings of our creator series if your rally has gone badly. So we see it in real life, a lot of drivers just slowing down and, conserving their car, conserving their tires for the power stage if they've had a dreadful event. And for people like Kamikaze, it does make sense now to focus on the power stage, seeing as Vlembar might be too far ahead. So where the gap might be 7 points difference, he can reduce that gap down if Vlembar doesn't score any points to just 2 points. So it makes a huge difference. However, it is risk-taking, and if you've got a good result on the overall leaderboard, you might not want to push it that far. Phil, a good result there, just outside the top 100, but still a great one in 167th place there. The gaps are so close on these stages, still only like 20 seconds between that and 200th place. So it's just a testament to the amount of quality drivers that compete in this championship. And just for anybody watching that hasn't participated yet in Portugal, you have until tomorrow morning to participate. You can go to the RaceNet page for EAWRC, and it is on the featured or partnered clubs toward the top of the page of RaceNet clubs. Very easy. Just click on the club, EA Creator Series, and you can just join on one click of a button, and then get back to the game and set your stage times and set the world alight.
And I'm sure everyone would be very happy for people to join in as well, because we want as many people on WRC as we possibly can, because it is a fantastic series here. I actually really enjoyed commentating it once again. With yourself, John. Of course, it's been fantastic so far. We've still got so much left to do. Now, when we were chatting to Velma, you were very intrigued to why Kamikaze chose that tyre strategy choice. I mean, if he's going for the championship, why put you're basically putting all your coins on that last stage, which seems a bit odd considering of the pace that Kamikaze does have.
Kamikaze is a driver of many talents. He has a lot of pace and a lot of determination in his driving, and that determination leads to him trying to get the maximum points out of an event. And as soon as he feels like it's not possible to compete for victory anymore, he will divert to another strategy. And he probably felt in the first few stages, as Vlembar said, at stage 5, he said, I'm going the different strategy, his original strategy, which he said before broadcast to me that he didn't think was optimal. But he had the incidents in stage 3 and stage 4 that probably knocked his confidence a little bit, and so he's diverted, and that, to be fair, has made him champion the last season and could well make him champion this season. So it's a good strategy, I'd say, and could bag him a whole load of points, especially with the gap at the top of the standings so close at the moment.
Well, I do hope for his sake that it is. He's coming down the final part of stage 7 here, and of course Vlembar just a little bit behind him on the stage. And I gotta say, I do love watching them side by side, because they don't always set off at the same time, but I do really like watching, just seeing how two different drivers handle the same stage. It's genuinely interesting as Kamikaze crosses the finish there with a 3:06, I believe, in the end. Let's see what Vlembar can do. Still a little bit left to do on this as we go over the jump and heading round a right before heading down the left. And just going through that, a little bit tap of the wall there. Not what they needed, but Kamikaze second on that time. As it looks like Vlembar is going to cross over 3:18.
Yeah, shout out to Contant del Olmo there, setting the fastest stage time. Actually, for Vlembar, that's quite down on their time. So Vlembar's made a mistake in that one. He might lose the lead again. This is the pace that we're running with. It's so fast there at the top of the leaderboards versus every single other driver in the world. So that's participating in Creator Series. So we have genuinely a huge amount of talent on the Creator Series, and it's lovely to watch them. Contant del Olmo having a bit of a nightmare this rally, but he managed. It seems like he finds the groove mid-rally, and then he's got good power stage points afterwards. And he's not in the fight for the championship at the moment, but there's more than enough rounds, 4 after this one, for him to get straight back in the mix.
And that's what it is. It's not game over. It's not over till the fat lady sings. That's what they say. That's what I say anyway. As we are now on to stage 8, which is, I'm going to pronounce it perfectly, it is Mora do Rei.
I'll go with that. Yep, perfect. I love the fact that you're the one pronouncing it. That avoids the problem. For me, this is the end of the FAF stage, so the short version. As you can see, they've just gone through the FAF junction there again. So the thing with rally games, stages are very complex to develop. So one of the ways to provide a bit more variety of content is to split the stages into multiple small sections, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 per long stage. And so that way you can run the short versions either to practice them or to just have like a little sprint rally, and different formats available. So it's a good, I think, element in the game because it tests you, really. You go from long stages to short stages, and you have to adapt your tempo, adapt to your aggressiveness, take risks in places where maybe on a long stage you'd back off and take a different line. So it really does test the drivers, especially when the tire wear is high and where they've got to just go flat out, as Punju all crossed there into, I think that's the end of FAF there. So he was crossed over the jump once again. Punju does like sending it over the jumps, and that's another demonstration of it once again, as you got Aerotech also approaching the finish line there. Good to see them through that stage. Possibly the one they'll know the best this evening. So it's the one that everybody wants to win as well.
Yeah, they certainly do, and I believe that is a top 60 time there for Punju. Aerotech, on the other hand, top 40, well, top 50, so 42 seconds. So looking pretty good. Still, again, as you mentioned, so close between the drivers, and we love to see competitive nature. And we've got a person we haven't seen yet this afternoon, which is Quinton here.
Yeah, Kotal, one of the best drivers on here, just purely by statistics. Literally, Dirt Rally 2 Rallycross Esports champion, and I think in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, just such a high quality driver. He takes all of the risks. He just goes flat out and wants to win every single stage, regardless of whether it's a long rally or a short one. And you'll see over this jump in just a few seconds, he will take it absolutely flat out. A little bit to the left, he'll land it just on the road in the forwards there. You can see with the lovely Red Bull livery. And yeah, he is absolutely on the limit in this one. And it just shows that he knows every single let's say meter of the stage, especially with the obstacles, and so he can send it everywhere. And it's so lovely to see everybody like getting so close to the limit, and it's another world to just be able to have the confidence to chuck the car into the corners like this. As you can see on the steering wheel, quite aggressive, quite committed every single time. And that's what you have to be on a gravel rally. You have to be just on the limit everywhere, because if you start second guessing, a bit like Aerotech was saying, the car will do weird things and will react differently than what you want it to. So sometimes the only strategy you have is pushing flat out and hoping for the best, as he got way up the bank there.
I think one of my favourite parts about being a commentator is being able to sit here and watch someone be very, very, very good at what they do. And just watching that first section, as someone who doesn't watch a lot of rally, I can tell that was, well, near perfect, I'd say, through that first section of this this run.
It's, perfection is something in rally that is very hard to achieve, because you're never on the limit every single corner. Because if you are, you will go off and crash. But 95% is what I'd say on the limit, and this is probably 98% from Contan, maybe from Kamikaze and Vlembar as well. You can see how close they're getting to the bushes and the rocks, and indeed the anti-cut devices. And for Kamikaze, sometimes cutting over them, perhaps. So yeah, it's one of those things in rally where you have to take a completely different attitude, and one which, Kamikaze has got a big reset penalty. I've just seen on the stage. He's gone, sadly, into a few spectators on the outside of a corner, and that will minimum be a 7-second reset penalty if I am correct. So another disaster, and possibly compounding the fact that he now just wants to get to the end and save those fresh tires now.
Yeah, I mean, Kamikaze just wants to get onto that power stage. They have selected that strategy for reasons. You can see Quinton did get top of that stage, 2:49, very much clear of the man currently sitting in second. So Quinton once again proving how good they are around Portugal, well, around any rally stage, to be honest with you. And the Kamikaze still looking very good there on that left-hand side, but with that big reset penalty, as we mentioned, it is going to cause a lot of problems. The reason why they swap strategies, as myself and John were mentioning earlier, is just the need to say, I'm not winning this rally overall, I need to focus on that power stage, where of course get more points, and points, as we all know, mean prizes. Now, Valbar is also heading on this stage at the moment, is about a few seconds ahead of where Kamikaze's time is, and of course Kamikaze did have that reset penalty, as we mentioned. And of course, the interesting thing I find, just watching here, Valbar being on the controller and Kamikaze being on the wheel, you must get different feelings in the car, and obviously you may get more understeer, more oversteer, whatever it is, but they are both proving that they can race at this highest level. As you can just listen to the co-coms in the car giving you those directional pointers, which I think I would find very distracting. But I understand in rally that it is incredibly important, as we are going to see them go over the jump basically at the same time, and they both land it to perfection. I'd say that is quite. I say quite incredible as Velbar also taps the wall, but they're both about to come up towards the finish. Kamikaze 3:01 and Velbar with a 2:57. And I believe, John, you are back.
Indeed, I am. Yes, a little power issue on the laptop that I'm using right now, but there you go. So, technical issues happen all the time in rallying, and sometimes it even happens to commentators, would you believe? Once again, commentating about just the risks that you have to take, even on the real life FAF stage. They do crash into walls and tap, lose aero parts. It's part of the game, as they say. So I think we've got IRC JPH now in the interview room. How's it going so far? From what we've seen, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty on the limit, but what's your view of it?
Evening, yeah, it's not too bad. I must admit, I feel like I was hoping to be a little bit quicker, but the time just isn't quite there. So, but could be a lot down to stage knowledge. So, but yeah, it's not too bad. It's I'd like to be a bit closer to Commander Biz, but overall, it's we're still in it, and we're still keeping it as clean as possible, should we say?
Well, that's the thing in Portugal, isn't it? You've got to rely on other people making a mistake, and with Kamikaze and other people picking up some penalties and some, having some incidents along the way. Do you think there's a good possibility for, catching a good result? What's your sort of pace like around here?
Pace is not strong. It's about the bottom line of it. It's not strong, but it's probably good enough if people make some serious mistakes to capitalise on. But I think the goal really is to try just forget about everyone else and just get to the end, and what will be will be. I mean, it's the joy of rallying. You can't control what anyone else does, only what you do. So I think key for me around here is just forget everyone else and just drive.
Sounds like a plan. Easier said than done, though, in Portugal, maybe?
A little easier said than done, but still, if you pace yourself, it's not too horrible.
Best description of Portugal I've ever heard, Alex, right?
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, from what I've watched, this is very, very much my second rally I've ever watched. It seems to be that case. But we've got 3 stages left, 9, 10, and of course 11, which is the power stage. All of 3 of them are pretty long. Of course, the one you're about to go into is the longest left. How you feeling about tyres? How you feeling about what you can do here in these last 3 stages?
Tyre-wise, I'm quite happy with. We've kind of played it slightly safe, and I've got hards for the last 3 stages, so not too worried about tyres. Power stage, I'm not expecting to get in the points, so again, it's just a case of drive the stage, don't make mistakes, and sort of pick up if other people have sort of issues through it. But again, at this point, it's just going for an overall result and finishing. Cause I think at the moment I'm 7th in the creators, so it's just kind of like securing that sort of position first, and then move on to like Iberia next week.
What's your review about Iberia then, just quickly?
Well, it's tarmac, which I quite enjoy, but I know Punju has decided to put really stormy weather in, so it's going to be very interesting. But I do enjoy the F2 kit car, so it's like I'm 75% really happy and like 25% like they could have done without the storm.
Aaron. That's a great way of describing it. So far, as far as I can see, you're sat P6 overall in Creator Series right now, overall, as of stage 8. So possibilities for people making a mistake and you grabbing some points in the power stage, maybe? What do you think of that?
There's a chance, but I'm put it this way: I'm not going to drive like I expect any. That's for certain, but definitely a chance.
Sounds like a plan. Well, we wish the best for you. Unless, Alex, you've got other things to add, we'll leave them be.
I think that's all I've got to add. Just good luck with the stage length and 15 kilometers. That's a long one to pay attention for, but I'm sure you've got it more in hand. You've driven a longer one already today. Think about it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, and we drive longer in the game as well. So it's this is like a sprint to some of the stages we drive.
I'll echo that. Yes, sounds like a good description. Thanks ever so much for your time once again.
Thank you, mate.
Just want to note as well on that stage description, not sure if anybody was looking at that, it said gravel about 68%. I'll probably the maths won't add up on this one because it was quite small on my screen. 30% tarmac. So that's a lot of tarmac for stages. We got Ryan off as well. Oh, he's had a bit of a disastrous stage here. He's had to take quite a few. He's not got a button for. Oh, it was a puncture. Oh, that's a disaster, and that means possibly that Alex Skinner would have overtaken him right there. But halfway into the stage, no chance to drive that to the end. He has to repair it. But I think he might have maybe a double puncture here. That car looked very oversteery into the corners. We'll have to see into a junction. Here, junction coming up. He's tapped the wall a little bit. But how is the car handling? Looks okay, actually. So he might have gotten away with it. Gotten away with not having 2 punctures, let's put it that way. Although if he keeps driving at that sideways, it might be oh so disastrous. No, I think he does have a puncture on that car. I think he has a double puncture, sadly. Yeah. It's definitely rear right tire is punctured. Which is a disaster because he's got this stage and I think next stage to drive until the power stage where he can hopefully get another set of tires on the car. But to drive half a stage now with at least 1 punctured tire, that is really, really tough going. And he's going to see time just fall away, especially on this tarmac section, because who would have thought not having any rubber left on the rim and just driving on just steel or magnesium actually with these rims on the road is not the optimal grip level. So that's not going to work out for them. But disappointing for Ryan. He was having a great time. He actually did some quite incredible saves as we were doing the interview, as he was darting the opposite side of some of the rocks, getting penalties for it, but avoiding major damage. But sadly, that looks like it has run out. At least the car still handles good into the right-handers, right?
Yeah, I suppose you can think of it as a positive that way, but I suppose with a puncture on your car as well, you not only got to think about, obviously you're driving on a loose surface anyway, but you've got to think about three turns ahead before you even make the next turn, because you're like, how is the car going to react going to that corner or to this corner or to that corner? Because it's going to be totally different to what you did in the practice or what you've been doing so far. And of all the stages that you could get a puncture on, probably this wouldn't be your top pick of stages to get one.
No, certainly you don't want to get a puncture into the longest stages. I'm just looking for Alex's times on the leaderboard. I think he's had quite a few incidents and things where he's had to recover, maybe repair some punctures. So I'm not finding his time as of yet. But however, I will say if Ryan loses about 2 minutes into this stage, then it can drop him so far down the leaderboard. People like RCJPH, Aerotech. Can profit from this, as Ryan was sadly, I think, in the top 20 overall before this incident. So it'll be gutting for him, really.
It's going to hurt. He's going to feel that one if it does go downhill from here. And unfortunately, Portugal is a lot of uphills, so he's not even going to get it in real. He's not even going to get on the track. So it couldn't be going worse for Ryan at the moment. But Gillen, you know what? I might commentate cursing here, but every time we've seen him on screen, seems to be getting better and better with his car.
Yeah, this is kind of what I predicted. A bit like Ryan, I must say Ryan's pace has been so good on this rally, and he's taken sort of the next step where he's making mistakes just because he's going so quick. Alex has gotten to that stage where he's understanding how the car handles, how what steps you have to take to get a consistent performance out of it, and it's showing now. He will undoubtedly, like all of us have done in the past, overstep the limits at some point, but he looks like he's learning a lot at the moment. But I'm sure he'll be quite happy to hear that Ryan is in trouble, as I know they're all very, very competitive. And they, as much as they do like to see other people doing well, they do like to see their name ahead of those people on the leaderboard.
Yeah, they certainly will, and I'm sure Alex will enjoy saying it, especially. Oh, he's had a big old off there. Can he get himself turned around? And I think that looks like a little puncture, did it not? I feel like the way the car.
I'm not sure.
That car dipped down in a way.
You'll only be able to tell in a few corners' time, especially if he's driving at this speed. Because if the tire, if you're driving over 100 kilometers per hour, the tire after a while will delaminate, so it will come off the rim completely. And at that point, you're just driving on the rim, and then you have no grip whatsoever. So if Alex has a puncture, he'd be better backing off. My God, that was close. A good recovery, I must say so. But yeah, he is pushing the limits on this one. And it doesn't look like he's got a puncture. I will say for Ryan, it could get worse though, because if you have a puncture on both on both tires of an axle, like Ryan might be getting right now, sadly, it will DNF you. It won't let you continue the rally. So if you have puncture on both rear tires or both front tires, that's the end of your rally, effectively.
Well,
don't ask me why, by the way. If the tires are diagonal, say you've got a left front puncture and a right rear puncture, that is fine. That's a huge impact. That is going to be a lot of damage on the car, no matter what, at this stage, and a loss of confidence. And you can see there the car has just got no grip remaining whatsoever. And I think Ryan, to be fair, would be better saving the car at this point. Getting that puncture hopefully changed. Oh no, he's used his spare tire, so he's got another stage drive with no tire on that rim, and look at how the car's handling. It is, well, I'd like to describe it as Monaco 1984, but it's just all over the place.
Yeah, well,
is the tire required as our producer asking?
Even I know
tires are optional in rally.
It's needed, and I don't watch this at all. But it's not like the next stage is any shorter. It's 14.8 kilometers, the stage 10. So with all those tires, well, hopefully for his sake, he's not feeling too deflated.
I was about to say, it's like the brakes, they only slow you down, so you don't need them. So, driving on the rims means that the rev counter thinks that you're going faster because the tires are spinning up. So technically, you're going faster during the stage. I'm not sure if that holds up, but yeah, we shall see. We have also, I'm noticing some damage. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. That wasn't the damage I was going to mention, but that is a huge amount of damage. I'm not sure that'll buff out. Well, I'm hearing reports also that Contown, so he's lost 3 minutes in that stage. Just to report, Contown there, as you can see, compared to Kamikaze in the same car, he has a lot of damage on that car. He has been off somewhere and had quite a big crash. I wonder if he's lost a bit of time. But in terms of overall results, that might mean a big deficit now to the likes of Lembar and Kamikaze. So this could turn the points up on the routes again, once again.
And it certainly could. He looked very good in the last few stages, I believe topping the last few stages, but obviously, as you were mentioning, if he's got that big damage, he goes over the jump. It's got very far to the right, but it's kept it relatively nice there as it's going through this part of the stage now, as we've got a very sharp left-hander coming up, and I'm sure he'll make it cleanly. And he did. Commentator's curse did not affect him there.
He did. That was very close for the commentator's curse, I must admit. He's pushing his limits, let's say. But this is the corner where Alex Gillen crashed. Oh, he was so close in there, but well held. I must admit, he knew there was a tiny bit of grip on the outside, so he didn't overdrive the car and over-rotate the car on the handbrake, and he actually just used the downforce to make sure that he could get the car turning. And that's what the best drivers will do. But it sounds easy. It's definitely not. And with so many opportunities to make mistakes and get a puncture from a very little sort of minute error, you're pushing your limit every single stage here, and it's only natural that drivers make mistakes as they do in real life. This rally has a very high attrition rate, even in real life, with the best drivers of the WRC.
I can imagine. I mean, just watching this as someone who's obviously never seen the Rally to Portugal before, I can tell you that this looks very, very tricky indeed. I mean, the one I watched, I believe you racing, John, looked tricky, but this looks like a different level to me.
The rallies all have their technical points. Even if you're driving, say, on Sweden, which is a very open, fast rally, or Finland, let's say, if you don't want to talk about snow. You have to calculate trajectories, you have to calculate the speed into the corners, not necessarily having practiced them. It's a huge jump by Contan there. He was wanting to get all of the stage. Just listening to what he's saying. He's saying that the hard tyres are just not gripping whatsoever and that the mediums would have been better on those stages. So perhaps Contan going for a sort of a different strategy into the power stage as well to try and get some points after a few mishaps in the first opening stages. So a lot of tire strats at play here, but this rally, going back to the question you asked, it's very difficult in other ways. It's not the highest speed rally, but there's so many possibilities of making a mistake that what there isn't in speeds, there is in terms of just concentration and making sure that you make it to the end with all four tires. And we've seen how difficult that is.
Yeah, we certainly have. And as we see another set of drivers finish there, look at the vibes on Yam. He's just loving those. And didn't take the jump as I'm sure as fast as he would have wanted. But he did finish up there once again on stage, I believe, stage 10, was it not? Encephalosis. Let's get him in. Let's jump him in for an interview.
Yeah, hello there, Encephalosis. It's a bit of a wild ride today, isn't it? But how is it treating you at the moment, Rally Portugal?
Oh man, I don't even know how to answer that. Speaking from a position standpoint, I think it's treating me pretty well. From an emotional standpoint, I think Portugal is starting to win the battle. There's just so many tricks, so many rocks specifically. The rocks are most of the tricks. I've hit quite a few rocks today, but I was mentioning to the friends in the chat there that as many times as I've gotten spun around, I don't think I've collected any resets really, or any punctures or significant damage. I've been able to kind of shed the damage off more or less as we go. So it's been a rocky road, I could definitely say, but we've been managing to stay alive through it, keep the car more or less together.
So I just want to say to my fellow commentator, Alex, that you've answered his question from a few minutes ago. This rally apparently gives you emotional damage. There you go. You heard it from Encephalosis, not from me. A good explanation, to be fair. What's the most difference, would you say, about this rally? Because I know you like rallies such as Mexico and sort of technical rallies. Is there anything that's catching you out compared to those other rallies?
Compared to the
Oh, I got him with
others,
that question.
yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's just the rocks specifically. It's got a lot of the same troubles as some of those other rallies. Once you get going on the jumps, the dips, and the crests, and then getting caught off guard with something. Places like Mexico, if you fear more kind of going off the road edge and then kind of having to scramble to get back to the road itself. Places like Estonia or Finland, they have all of these like posts or something off the road bales that you can terminal on. But here it's like, man, every inch of every corner is covered in rocks that are essentially landmines that'll stop all of your momentum, spin you around. And honestly, I've been really lucky. I almost don't want to say it here. I'll knock on wood. I've been really not lucky not to get a puncture so far because we've definitely hit a few things. And those rocks can do it in an instant. I've seen in practice. So hopefully we can keep going with that good luck.
Well, I'm just saying, damn, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, honestly. Just he's everywhere today. Just ruining everyone's race, it seems to be, this afternoon. But obviously you got, is it, I think, 2 stages left, stage 10 and 11, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, the power stage as well. All 3 of them have been relatively long, the last 3 stages. What are you doing for tyres on this one? I've been asking everyone this question. What's yours? You've been going more conservative, or have you been, you focusing on the power stage at the end?
Yeah, I guess kind of both. So originally I was hoping to I wasn't really sure. I was thinking about going with a hard medium, but I think the issue with that strategy is that the last 3 stages altogether are something like 20, 26, 28 miles. I can't remember exactly. So that's quite a bit for the mediums. But then if you try to stretch the last set of hards out and do mediums for just the last stage, I know that was the strategy a few people talked about. Then it was like, man, 36, 38, maybe even 40 miles on that second set of hards. So I was talked into going hards, mediums, and then back to hards, which I think actually ends up being fairly conservative if you look at the mileage on each set of tires. So I think it's, again, like 28-ish miles on the last set of hards. So they should still be in pretty good condition for the power stage. I think that does end up being the conservative strategy. Should
I
be
think
relatively low wear.
if I'm not mistaken, that was the strategy of Vlembar as well. So it looks like with Vlembar currently leading the Crater Series on this event with a few stages to go, looks like a good strategy nonetheless. But do you think you can get it to the end without any major mistakes or errors? I want the jinx to come from you, not from me. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, we can't jinx any
Obviously.
more drivers today.
Man, I hope so. Sometimes, man, especially like so far this season, I've kind of gotten away with a few sketchy situations, but then done myself in here pretty close to the end of the rally. So I'll tell myself to tighten up a bit and let's not even risk it anymore because we are kind of holding it together. I think we're still in like 85th, 87th-ish position overall. So yeah, hoping we can avoid anything major, keep it together as we have been with just a few minor incidents, if anything.
Sounds like a plan. I hope it works for you. To be fair, as it's great to see you drive on these roads, and with quite a few of your let's call them rivals making mistakes. As I'm just watching Punju spinning off in one of the stages, there may be some extra opportunities for points. Let's put it that way. So we hope that it works out for you.
Right on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
All the best, and pleasure to hear from you once again. Just as I was saying, Punju going for a good old spin there in the bushes, just trying to.
Damn it.
We might have another interview in just a second, but Punju there pushing the limits. You can see the car understeering off a little bit into the bushes, and then as soon as you hit that, you get spun around, and then you just got to cope with it as best you can. And you can see, I think it's getting maybe a little bit flustered with all of that going on. It's such a tricky rally. Look at that around the tree. Okay, that's a new one. I haven't seen that one before. The Joker lap around the tree. Good stuff. This isn't Formula E. You don't get a boost deployment from that. But it's nice to see Bunju creating literally different tracks
It's style
for
points.
us in the Creator Series.
It's definitely style points for sure, but
Oh, not
that's not a style point. That doesn't help. That's going to damage his car quite a lot. And I believe we are on stage 10, if I'm not
mad
mistaken.
about that reset, man.
We are definitely on stage 10 indeed. And I'm hearing that Ryan is available for an interview now. Ryan, judging by your smile, you knew this interview was coming at some point. Last time I checked, there's meant to be 4 tires on the car. Could you explain your strategy?
So, it was, what was it? Stage 9, I think it was I think it's called Marais or something like that.
Yeah.
I basically took too much speed, hit a fence on the side and got a double puncher, and only took 1 spare. Finished the stage with a very slidey rear end, and for tactical reasons for the power stage, I retired from this Villa Pukstar one, which I know Punju and Aero are doing at the minute. So it's tactical, but it's a mistake. It's a rookie mistake from me. On that stage, I've not really hit that corner before with that impact, so disappointed if I'm honest, but I've got to forget about it now, go full beans on the power stage and get some points on the board, hopefully.
So just to clarify this, so you think that you'll get more points on the power stage than by carrying on to get some overall points? Did you know where you were in the standings after that mishap on the stage?
Yeah, so I dropped from 16th down to 78th. I was like now 4 minutes off. If I'm going to be honest, John, I would have, on this next stage, I would have lost even more time and I would have dropped it even further down and probably be outside the points, if I'm going to be honest, because that rear was just too much. And plus the risk of damage, and then going into the service now, everything's all repaired. If I carried on that last stage, I could have got even more, and then there would have been a risk of obviously carrying some heavy damage going into this and losing power or lack of steering or braking. So I thought just play it safe and just get the car clean in the position like it is now and absolutely blitz it. If I crash in this power stage, then I gave it my best. So, but it's been fun anyway tonight, and it shows that apart from that one mistake, I did pretty well, and gives me confidence for the rest of the season that I could be up there fighting with the quick guys like the Kamikazes and the Mikes, and potentially if I do some more practice.
That's what I was about to say. Disappointing end, but the pace was there, and that's the positive to take from it. And hopefully, we'll see that in the power stage as well. But yeah, definitely not the result you wanted. But we had fun watching you just push the limit on those stages.
Yeah, I mean, going into the second half, I thought I would be cautious, but I was very aggressive on stage 6 where I had the terminal in practice and somehow survived and was doing consistent times and being in under the top 20 on all the stages bar a couple. So I can definitely take this as a positive, but obviously disappointing that I couldn't get to the end cleanly with where I was position wise. But again, as you say, the pace has been there. I'm happy, but also bitter at the same time. And we'll just see how this last stage goes and hopefully get in a decent position to get some points, whether it's 1 point or higher than that. So we'll see.
Understandable, sadly, but that's rally. That's how it is. Alex, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, obviously, you've got, again, a brand new car, basically, well, repaired car, I should say, and you'll have a new set of tyres to go into. You don't sound too deflated, unlike your tyres, but what tyre have you got, tyres that you're going into the final stage with?
Hards. Thankfully, I've only used one stage of the 2, so I think I'll have the fresher tyres out of everybody. Whether that makes a difference, I doubt it. But we'll see. I mean, I've seen Commander Buzz, who I was fighting with for position at one point, was very quick on this last stage in the power, so he's one to beat. But obviously, you've got the Kamikazes, and you're going to be up there. So if I could be the non-alien, quickest car from Head of Aero or everyone else from a content creator perspective, who aren't aliens, I'll be happy with that. But I mean, the big surprise to me is Punju. he's been very quick on a lot of the stages, and he's definitely a dark horse, I think, for a power stage points. I think for this one. So that's my wild card, I think, for the power stage. Is Punju.
Well,
Keep an eye on him.
We'll give you extra points if you're right.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
Gareth is not currently confirming that, so we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we can find a way to incentivize it. But anyway, we'll hope to see with a glorious power stage victory at the end of this one. But thank you ever so much for your time, and again, commiserations.
Cheers, boys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it can't always go well. You have to have winners and losers in any type of sporting event. As Contown very, very close there on the road. It's always the same in these stages. You're just pushing the limits. You're just going flat out, and you don't necessarily have time to think, and that's just the crux of it. You've just got to keep fighting for what you can, and if it does go wrong, you've just got to think, well, maybe I've made a mistake, but somebody else can make a bigger mistake. And for certain drivers, Ryan's mistake will be exactly that. It was ahead of them on the leaderboard. For example, RCJPH said, I need to wait for a mistake from someone, and lo and behold, he'll be picking up some extra points now, as long as he can finish the rally without any major mishaps.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, it's rallying. That's what happens with it. I do hope he doesn't take my joke too harshly. It was it wasn't meant as a major diss, but it seemed that way when I said it. But no, it was a pleasure chatting to Ryan, and yeah, no, I do commiserations to him as well, because he was looking very good, as he's saying. But as you were saying, Johnny, can take a lot of promise from from all of the stages up to that point that he was looking very, very good.
Just want to point out for our viewers that this is the power stage that they are in. So this is their push for points. According to what data I have right now, I have overall times. Hang on a minute. Have I got? No, I take it back. I take it back. RaceNet has fooled me. RaceNet has fooled me, everyone. I did click on the page and it displayed different results. It has done that 3 times for me. So there you go. No idea what's going on there. So this is, yes, stage 10. My apologies. I did think something was wrong there, but couldn't quite figure it out. But this is the stage then where they are still pushing. I was going to talk about them pushing anyway, and you can see Kamikaze pushing there a little bit too much. They'll be pushing, trying to get their confidence back in for 110% push mode, especially for Kamikaze. Ryan said he might have the freshest tires, but Kamikaze has that absolutely new set of medium tires. So I'd expect that anybody trying to rival him on those tires would have to have a new set of tires as well, of which I think there'll be quite a few drivers doing that strategy today. But we'll have to wait and see. It's one stage, and no matter what tires you've got on the car, they can make a mistake, and that's the end of that. But for Vlembar, it is looking like a very good result provisionally for the moment. To close back in on Kamikaze in the championship.
A little bit damaged, but it's not too bad. I just haven't.
Yeah, it certainly does, and we're just looking at the film bar there as it's 8:38. Now, I think that is a very good time. I just had a look at the
huge time.
Standings. I believe that puts him second overall, if I'm not mistaken.
It could be 8:38 is second on that stage. And looking overall, he is second overall by quite a margin as well. 25 seconds gap to first place. So I don't think that's going to change, barring any mistakes from Tristan in the last stage. And then a gap of another 25 seconds to P3. So yeah, actually, it's interesting to note Kamikaze has dropped behind Ambient Mike on the overall results by 0.4 of a second. So yeah, there's a lot to play for there. And if they're not, if they make a major mistake, you've got Contan Dalomo, who's been progressively making his way back up the leaderboard, that could potentially make his way back into the top 10. So a lot at stake in these last stages.
Now we are on to the power stage. We are on Villa Poca, I'm going to call it. The last stage was... actually, no, because you didn't get the right stage last time. You have to say what the last stage was as punishment.
The last stage was a stage of all time. Ponte de Lima. That's actually quite...
you know what? That's pretty good. Yes. Should have made you do this one.
I'll take it. Redemption is fine. No, I was perfectly happy with the way it was right there. But yeah, it's always sort of an adrenaline rush, the power stage. You know, it was designed for spectators, as I think Punju has got that quite wrong, into the reverse of the FAF junction there. But you know, the power stage was brought in to make sure that the drivers were pushing to the end of the rally, because in real life you'd had a lot of rallies where it was decided on maybe the Friday or the Saturday. Their leader had such a gap that it's, you know, the drivers were just settling for their points that they'd accumulated, and that's it. And since the power stage and since the improved, well, mixed improved, some people would argue against it, but the improvements of what they call Super Sunday now in the rules, especially with points for the Sunday stages in WRC, it's encouraged people to push the limits right until the end. And so that's what we see on the Crater Series with just the power stage. Even if they've had a bad rally, they can go at it once again, as Aerotech was very lucky to get away with that, colliding with the mound of earth on the side of the road right as he landed as well. He'll be very, very happy to get away with that.
Well, he's carried on in a straight line, which is always the most important thing, as he has it for that jump, and very nice indeed. And well, of course, in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that Mr. Ryan has made it back out on the circuit. Is all Punchy was that a 360 from Punchy?
That was, I think, a 360 from Punju, and more importantly, I think that was in the exact same spot that Aerotech got it wrong as well.
Oh.
So they are all pushing the limits there, and it's like that. You have to, you know, if you want to go for a result, and on a rally like this where you've got a car with a lot of downforce, if you start backing off, you immediately lose 2 to 3 seconds per sector, and on some cases, you know, multiple seconds per corner. So you've just got to commit to the corners, push like hell, and see what you can do. And you know, on a rally like this, you'll either get lucky or you'll get unlucky, and sometimes you have very little to play for that.
Yeah, certainly is the case around here, and obviously we've hoped everyone's enjoyed so far these stages. I've certainly enjoyed commentating them, and this is the power stage. This will be the final stage of today's afternoon, and we are got Aerotech and Punju, who have been probably close together all afternoon, and they are just powering through this power stage as the name entails.
Yeah, indeed, and it's quite a tricky stage, obviously, because most of it is downhill. The FAF stage, which is the official layout. This is the reverse layout. The FAF stage is quite uphill most of the time. This is then mostly downhill, and so, especially if you're on, say, a worn set of tires, you'll have to go very carefully into the corners, not slide too much, because the tires will give out, especially towards the end. So it's important to have your, for example, your brakes repaired before this stage, and you know, you've got to just take care in certain places, because as you can see from every single perspective right now, you know, no matter which driver we switch to, you'll see very tricky corners, high banks, and a lot of rocks to hit. You know, that is Portugal in a nutshell, and that is the same on every single stage. And so you just got to learn from what you've done in the previous stages and hope that that experience is accurate and puts you in a good heading for the power stage. Very
Oh!
Oh no, Alex! So the corner cut penalty as well as the reset penalty, 30 seconds, and you can see the look of dismay on his face right there. He knew he was pushing hard, and you know, when you go over a crest like that, I think he just clipped the inside of that sort of cut, and it's very easy to just get spat out off the road or onto your roof or onto the side, and then from there on you're just a passenger and you're just waiting for the car to stop or for something to stop the car.
Well, it did stop, and unfortunately he's carried back on, but you can see he's very upset, because I genuinely think he's starting to really, really feel like he can get good at this after a long time of practice. But he's definitely improved since we first watched him race there. But again, John, you were saying this earlier, it proves that he is getting better and better because he's making those mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. You've got to feel the limit of grip, I'd say. That's how you improve as a driver. You've got to feel the limit and learn to get as close to that feeling as possible per corner, and that only comes with experience and testing the limits. And you know, for people like Aerotech, they'll be way too cool about overcooking it like that and just recovering the car. And for people like Alex, they'll be more sort of used to keeping it on the track and keeping it very smooth and consistent, and so pushing so hard as they go sideways each corner, it feels unnatural for them, sort of like the slower way to drive. But it's a completely different technique. Panju just
Ooh.
bouncing off of
Back half right
every
here.
single
That's all right,
bank that he can find
We
going into the
finished.
finish line. I don't think he'll be necessarily happy with this one. Although, there we go. He's happy to have finished the rally and straight into the wall. That's incredible.
And Ryan has also finished up his power stage there. And get 5 seconds. We're hearing it up in the ear from the producer. Oh, faster by a second. I think he said 5 seconds. Our producer not all top 10. There you go.
That's very, very close between the two. I know they love going and seeing which driver is fastest to Panju and Aerotech. So that will be victory points for one driver and a failure for the other driver. They'll interpret it that way. But the times are coming thick and fast now for all of our drivers, and it's good to see them getting through the stage. To be fair, they I think have dialed themselves into this rally now. The drivers are very close to the limit, and the mistakes are less and less in terms of severity and in terms of occurrence there. Wouldn't worry about that going into the wall. It's the end of the rally. You don't need the car for the next stage. And as soon as you park it there, it's the end of it. With Alex not yet at the end of the stage, you might want to get to the end of the stage before parking that in a tree.
Yeah, I mean, I think he thought it was done early, but he has got a little bit longer to go on this stage. I think he will be happy with his performance overall. Maybe not in the power stage itself, but I think overall he can say that, you know what, I've done that now, and if I've enjoyed it, he might come back and do another one.
Indeed, and I hope he does return, because I think he's done a lot better than he thinks, to be fair.
Yeah.
I've seen some, performances where it's been very difficult for the driver trying to adapt, but he's gone fast and made mistakes, but he's always demonstrated, even from stage one, that the performances there are lovely drift into the stage finish. It must be said. Jam, looks like Jam's struggling a little bit with the line or something like that. The car not rotating as he wants. Must be said, anybody in the Citroen will be struggling right now because of the understeer. You've got Contant in stage as well, but you've got Phil immediately approaching the Marshals, and 6:46 I think is quite a good time, so I think he'll be happy with that. Phil maybe cursing the lack of consistency there, but it could have gone a lot worse as for Jam and Ancephalosis. It just looks like their tires are cooked.
Yeah, I was just about to point out they seem to be slipping and sliding over the place. It seems like someone's put some washing up liquid and just thrown it all over the circuit, but of course it's dirt which is causing most of the issue. And yeah, their tyres, as you mentioned, I think are cooked at this point. We said they were going to be running the hards, and Ancephalosis, that is not the fastest way around the corner. Somehow, still facing the right direction though.
Stylish, if nothing else, which is why so many people liked Colin McRae. So that's you got to give credit for that, because rally is quite a spectacular sport to spectate and to watch, just for the sheer amount of commitment that drivers carry in the corners. And I don't. When we have people like Kamikaze and Vlembar in the broadcast, you tend to put a lot of focus on how they're driving, etc. But Ancephalosis is only probably maybe 2 or 3 seconds a sector slower, and so the differences are very minimal. It adds up over a stage, but they are driving so close to the limit still that most drivers would probably struggle to beat all of our content creators on this broadcast. And I just love that every single one of our drivers is just developing in terms of racecraft and in terms of just pace on rally events.
Exactly, and it's all about the fun here at the Cray Series. I think I had a bit of a joke with Ryan earlier saying, well, it's fun until you start winning, but yeah, it is all about the fun here at Cray Series, and we are glad everyone, hopefully, that's been watching today has been enjoying it. And if you obviously want to get involved in Creator Series or just WRC in general, you can obviously come join the Discord. All the socials are at the top of the screen at the moment, so make sure you check out that, because this has been so much fun today, John, and we've still got a couple more drivers finishing their stage runs.
Yeah, you got Kamikaze, Glenbar, and Contant at least still in stage. And yeah, Contant coming towards the end of the stage right now. Well, let's see what kind of time he can get on the leaderboard. It's going to be very, very, very quick. I've been watching his stage. It's absolutely rapid. His time doesn't show up immediately on the Kamikaze
Oh,
is in.
Kamikaze!
Dude, well, I think he finished the
Dommage,
stage.
finished, sure.
Yeah,
tout seul,
he
j'ai
was
fait un peu
pushing.
des...
I was just watching Contown for the time, and I didn't notice that Kamikaze had crossed the line. So taking that to the extreme, let me see if I can find
Second.
the times. Incredible stuff for
28,
Contown.
5:58.7. 5:52.
That is a new. Yeah, that's the fastest stage time. I think, yeah, by 4 seconds for Kamikaze. Those new tires really coming in clutch there. But Contan, 6 seconds off, probably on a different tire strategy. That's an amazing pace as well. Mander Biz, who was leading that stage, or second place, sorry, in that stage, only basically 10 seconds off. So that's incredible stuff. Waiting for Vlembar's time, 8th. There we go on the broadcast. 16 seconds off. So I think Vlembar going for the overall results rather than power stage points. Let me see if he did pick up any points provisionally. It looks like he will pick up 2 points for 4th place on the power stage. And let's have a look to see if I can get the overall results up. So Vlembar P2 overall is provisionally leading the Creator Series standings on this rally with Kamikaze in 2nd place. Good recovery, it must be said. Contan does not manage to beat Kamikaze after just a few too many mishaps. Same for Ambient Mike, sitting in 4th place there, and Commander Biz in 20th. Scrolling down maybe a little bit further, IRC JPH in 29th place overall. So that's P6, I think, for IRC JPH. And sadly, Ryan missing from that leaderboard then with that retirement.
Yeah, I think we shall, Vlembar. Let's bring him in.
Yeah. Well, Vlembar, that's maybe apart from not winning the power stage, went pretty perfect in terms of the Crater series. You gain a few points back on Kamikaze. Heading in the right direction?
Yeah. This rally, yeah, I think it's most probably that like the technical gravel rallies, they suit me a bit more than the fast ones or like asphalt rallies also. But yeah, went really smooth, except obviously after jinxing myself after you picked me into the interview. I don't know if you caught it, but literally the first corner I did after you had me, I literally just overshot it and lost 10 seconds. So I was like, hopefully it's not going downhill, but yeah, it didn't. Worked everything after that, and yeah, pretty happy.
The beauty of the commentator's curse, Alex.
I mean, it does its job. That's the point. It makes it a little bit more exciting for everyone. But but you did a fantastic job overall. I mean, obviously, as you said, the only thing you didn't win probably today is the power stage. But you kind of expected that anyway with Kamikaze's new medium tires. So were you just sort of at that point, you just sort of like just see what happens on the power stage? You know, you've got the overall.
Yeah, like I said earlier in the interview, my plan is to just keep it safe for the overall. At the moment, I'm 4th, I think, for the power stage, so it's still gonna be 2 points. But
I
yeah,
think so. Yes.
yeah, I expected Kami
Yeah.
to just go absolutely flying for the last one. So yeah,
It did.
I had to take the he did. To be fair, he did. But yeah, I picked a safe strategy, and I think it paid off.
With the events coming up, like F2 kit cars in Spain and Rally 4 in Mexico, a little bit of front wheel drive. Do you think that's an advantage versus Kamikaze? I know he's not too confident with those cars, but how is your confidence with those cars and combos?
Iberia and the F2, I do not know. I know that the first half is in like stormy, heavy rain weather, so it's gonna be a real tough challenge. But Mexico and the Rally 4, I'm pretty confident for that one. I actually do love the Rally 4s, so I'm excited to do that. But yeah, Iberia, I do not know. I think probably just pray and hope for the best there. And yeah, the last two are all like 4-wheel drive again, I think. Yeah, it's 2000s and the WSC class for the
Yeah.
finals, so we'll have to see, but I think better chances there than Iberia.
Sounds like a great analysis. So still a chance for keeping the championship sort of the pressure on Kamikaze, let's say. Do you think this season you can make him a little bit more under pressure than last season where he pulled a bit of a gap?
I hope so. I don't know. I think it's gonna be fairly equal, like on the last 2 rounds. Like I said, for the next 2, Iberia and Mexico. I'm not too sure how we're both gonna perform there. I'll have to see, but I think he's not too bad in the front wheel drive, so I think it's still gonna be close. So hopefully it's gonna stay that way, and we have a really good and exciting fight till the end, including you, Isa.
No comment from me. No comment from me. Portugal will be my downfall. I can guarantee you that. So the lead of the championship will most definitely be lost after this round, but we'll make a comeback. That's my official statement. Put it that way. Interesting. Commentator answering questions in the commentator. Hey, this is a paradox right now, Alex, isn't it?
Yeah, this is new territory here. I think we're being very risky with that, but well, congratulations on that, because I think, as you say, that's pretty much faultless drive you can do today in all those stages you did. So yeah, obviously, as you said, you got Iberia, you got Mexico up next is the next 2, and then obviously 2 more after that, which I believe is Chile and Kenya in those 2 ones as well. But we won't go too far away. Yeah, it's all good. Let's move on, shall we?
All right, thank you.
Just want to say congratulations, and your consistency is paying off, basically.
For this round, yes, but we see the next one. How consistent I'm gonna be there. That's gonna be the question.
Well, I guess all the spectators will have to tune in next week to see that. But anyway,
Absolutely.
thank you for your time, Vlembar.
Thank you.
Okay, let us see who we will get next into the interview box. Think next up will be Phil. We haven't spoken to him today. We'll see if we can get him in, because we do like to chat to all of our drivers if we can. Phil, it looks
Oh,
like,
my God.
hopefully you can hear us. It looks like a pretty solid rally. You looked like you were having fun, but how would you analyze your rally?
I mid. I feel like I left a lot on the table today. Some of it just from not having a lot of time at Portugal. The other was I decided to go with the Citroen today. Normally I'm more inclined to. I usually go with the Volkswagen, use the Polo on here, but it's like, all right, let's use the new car. Stable, but not the fastest. I feel like I probably could have done better if I'd have gone with the Polo. I did have a puncture in 9, and instead of repairing it, I just limped to the end. So, unforced errors cost me probably quite a few spots today. I could have done better. But I was having fun doing it. I was just enjoying the drive, man.
Is there any analysis you could do of the car, because we heard a lot of drivers saying that the Citroen is quite understeery. So is that something that would suit your driving style, or was that really what sort of got you caught up a little bit?
That is one of the things that got me caught up a little bit. I worked on it a little bit throughout the week to try to get the setup to minimize a lot of the understeer. I did, just by setup, I got some of it out. But just the way that car's set up, it's going to be an understeery car no matter what. And I'm not a big fan of understeer. But yeah, it's just something I just wanted to drive the new car, and it's stable. It's a fun drive. But I can't help but think I would have been faster with the Polo.
So with the next rallies, let's say, coming up with front-wheel drive stuff, do you think there's an opportunity for you to be a bit more comfortable with that, or is that not your speciality?
If we're gonna do, I know next week we got Iberia with the F2 kit car, and if we're going to do front-wheel drives, let's do front-wheel drives on tarmac. I seem to be able to get comfortably quick in that element. So hopefully next week will be a step up, even though I'm not I need to get some time on Iberia, a little more familiar with the stages. I have not spent a lot of time on that location, so I've got a little bit of track learning to do this week.
Okay. What about Mexico? Because you said tarmac, but Mexico Rally 4.
Truly aspirated car classes, those are fun at Mexico. Mexico is just a fun location for me. I really enjoy it. It can be frustrating at times because it is a slick dirt gravel surface, but that's also kind of part of its charm, I guess. So I'm looking forward to the next two, even though they're front wheel drive and that's not my favorite. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
It's like a great analysis, and we hope that you have as much fun as you've had in the previous rallies. But yeah, Alex, anything to add, perhaps?
Well, of course, we've talked all about rally and stuff, which is great. You answered the good questions. Now we need to ask the important question. Phil, we were talking when we were watching your camera that you wear socks when racing, which I think is very important on those on the pedal, because our producer Gareth Allen drives barefoot. Do you have any comments on that?
Oh, I don't know any that they're fit for stream. Temper it back a little bit here. No, I have no idea how a man can do the pedals barefoot. That's I don't know, maybe Gareth's secretly from Florida. A lot of time out on the beach, going barefoot everywhere and driving barefoot seems like a good idea. I don't know. I can't relate on that one there, friends.
No, I thought that might be the answer. Gareth seems to be the only one that does it without barefoot. But anyway, you drove from what we saw, you drove great stages, and obviously you got the next couple of tracks coming up.
Yeah, right on.
And you've just enjoying it. It looked like you were having fun out there anyway. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're not having fun, what's the point, you know? Even if you're not having the best day out on the track, as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying it. I mean, I do really just, even though I may not be having the best run on the best pace, when it gets into the really technical parts of the road, I just enjoy those drives, even if my pace isn't great. It's like, whatever, I'm just enjoying this drive.
I think that's the most
Great
important thing.
analysis, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We spoke over each other there. Sorry, Alex. Just wanted to say that's the type of attitude that we love to see. Just take every event as you go, and try and get the maximum fun out of it. And I think that's what I admire both the most. Let's say about your attitude towards things.
Well, good.
Well, just want to say, possibly, unless Alex, you got any more to add, just want to thank you for your time, and hope that the next few events will go well for you as well.
Yeah, sure thing, guys. Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. We're hanging in there and we're having fun. That's what matters.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you, mate.
Agreed. Alrighty. We've had multiple drivers that we wanted to interview, and who have all had to leave. So I think we might be able to get contact in, if possible, for an interview. I hope he's still there. If not, whoever gallant he is there. Right, contact. He, he is, but no picture at the moment here. He's in the dark. Contact, can you hear us?
Hey, hello.
How did the rally go? We noticed a few mistakes, let's say, which were unfortunate. But how would you interpret your experience? Because you set some very, very good stage times, including on the power stage.
Was complicated. I didn't had the time to practice. I used the setup that wasn't mine, and I had some difficulties. But the main difficulties was that I didn't practice the stage before. So of course I knew a little more the new stage with the DLC, because it was we did an event not so far, but the old stage. I mean, I think that there is 1 year that I didn't drive the stage, so it was really complicated. So on the new stage, I was fast, but when we were back on the old stage, I was horrible. I took a lot of penalty and a few crash, and to add some extra extra problem, I made a mistake on the tires, so I was with the medium tires all the rally, and it was really slippery because the tire was cooked after only 2 stages, so it was quite complicated. I had to start the power stage with the tires completely dead, and it was quite slippery.
And you managed to set a really good stage time anyway. Oh dear, that's a little bit too much power for me, Alex.
That's I was just about to ask you about tires. So your mediums, what for how many months on that stage? Like how many stages did you have mediums on for?
No, I mean I did the two first stage of the rally on the medium tire, then they were dead, so I had to change for another set of medium tires. I did only 4 short stage before they were dead again. So then I had to finish the whole rally on the hard tires, and of course for the last stage, tires were cooked also. So it was quite slippery.
That's massively impressive though. That's massively impressive that you managed to pull that off with the time you did in the power stage as well. Considering if you only did four laps, Christ, my circuit racing is coming into my head again. 4 stages on those on mediums, then you did how many stages on those last set of hards?
I believe I did
8.
Yes, 6 or 8 stage. I don't know.
No, you would have done. Hang on a minute.
Let me see.
5?
5 stages? Yeah, I'd say 5 stages then, judging what you said. Stage 1, stage 2,
Yeah.
mediums.
Sorry. 5
yeah,
stage, but
yeah.
yeah, it was like 50
A lot.
kilometers. 50 kilometers on the tires.
That's very impressive.
I guess the follow-up question I have to ask is, with all of these things going wrong, you're still in the championship, right? Because your pace is scary. Let's put it that way.
I can't believe honestly, but I need to find more time to practice a little bit if I want to be able to fight for the championship. So yeah, I will try for next week. But yeah, there is a high level. Kamikaze and Vlembar especially are really good each week. So this is great, but that's not helping me to fight back.
That's for sure. F2 kit cars, Spain. Do you think that's going to be a good one to fight back on?
Yeah, it could be a good one. I saw that we are going to have some rain, so yeah, it could be a fun one, and it could be interesting for me. I hope so.
Hope so too. Alex, anything to add?
No, nothing from my side. I think I've gone through all my questions.
Fair enough. Me too. So thank you, Quentin, for your time, and I hope you can now rest and get practicing maybe for next week already.
Yeah, I will try. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, mate.
Well, it's almost that time, isn't it? To wrap up the show. I mean, Rally Portugal, what a rally. It always delivers. It delivers in terms of just spectacular vibes, spectacular stages, spectacular crashes as well, it must be said. But spectacular performances from our drivers. And even if it hasn't gone well over the whole rally, I think we've seen some brilliant driving and brilliant stage times from most of our drivers, and that's always encouraging to see, especially on one of the most difficult rallies.
Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible watching this because as someone who's not a massive rally fan and someone driving these cars around this stage is incredible to watch, and it does prove, I think, that rally driving can be very, very tricky, as it's proven by a driver of Alex Gillen's standard in circuit racing, but jumping over to something like rally he's not as fast, but obviously we can see that it is just an incredible thing to watch, and I'm very grateful I got to commentate it once again.
I'm hopeful that we get Alex back in the driving. Obviously, hope we get you back as well for commentary. That goes without saying. But Alex showed, I'd say, the potential And that's
Mm.
always what you want to see in rally. You know, you'll always make mistakes on your first 100, 200, 300. Well, I'm still making mistakes. So at some point, I'll find when I stop making mistakes. It's definitely not now. But you know, you always learn stuff, and that's the main benefit of competing in these events. You always have something to learn, or something to enjoy, or both. But it's getting to that time for us to wrap up the broadcast. I just want to say, Alex, where can we find you on all of the social medias?
Well, you can find me on pretty much any social media at Deflink10. I'm on Twitter, or X as it's called now. Instagram. You can find me on Twitch. I do daily Twitch streams as well, if that's something you're interested in. And yeah, that's where you can find me anywhere you want.
And if you want to find the creator series, you can find them in the links up there. All of the social medias are covered. So if you punch that in, normally you can find all of the links to either snippets of videos or entire live streams, depending on what you want to see. There's always some good stuff to watch there, and some good reactions that would get a fine by the FIA usually. For me, I don't know how many times I've said that, but I'll keep saying it. From me, you can see me is amusing, usually wrapped around a tree somewhere, as we've seen today, or piled into a rock. Dwayne the Rock Johnson follows me around all the time, and I'm not his best friend apparently. Yeah, you can see me get up to all types of shenanigans. Let's say, just want to do a shout out once again to our producer Gareth Allen, who's done a fantastic and splendid job as always on such a technical live stream with so many things to get right, and he gets it right all of the time. So just want to shout him out, even though he doesn't like it.
He hates it.
But yeah,
Absolutely hates being shouted out, but we do it every time because it's funny.
and the funny thing is, the more he resists, the more elaborate I'll make it. So
Exactly.
you know, Gareth, there's a war to be won here.
Yeah, we'll still shout you out for it. Wait, that's weird. They can't hear you. We're having a conversation. They can't hear what we're saying.
Yeah. Anyway, well, it's about time to end the show. So all I have to do is thank you all for watching. We hope you had a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you to Alex once again for the commentary. It was amazing to be alongside you for all of the shenanigans that happened. And if you want to catch more action on the Creator Series, you can always tune in on Saturdays for the F1 Creator Series, where there's all sorts of drama that gets up on all of the circuits and all of the content creators over there. For us, you can always join us on the Mondays, for example, next week, if you like some front-wheel drive and kit cars and rain. That sounds like a good combo, to be fair, so you should tune in for that. We hope you've enjoyed it anyway. Thank you ever so much for watching, and bye-bye for now.